Chapter 1466. Even the 1,000-zhang-tall mountains were uprooted from the ground. The Blackstone City, which was like a coiling dragon, was flying towards the Taoyu's return to origin. The Tao Tai returning to origin vortex was shrinking. In the blink of an eye, it was only 100 meters wide. In front of the giant white python, it was as small as a grain of sand under the foot of Mount Tai. But in this world, the bigger something was, the stronger it was. It was like a fat man who was no match for a strong fist. Even a big bag of cotton couldn't stop a sniper rifle bullet. In fact, the smaller the Tao Tai returning to origin was, the denser it was, and the heavier it was per unit volume, the stronger the suction and devouring power. Whoosh! The white heaven-devouring python couldn't help but charge toward the vortex. No! How can this be? What kind of law and dharma is this? How can it devour me? Wu Huan let out a thunderous roar, burned his blood, and used thousands of divine powers and thousands of secret techniques, but he couldn't stabilize his body. In fact, many scales and flesh were falling off uncontrollably. Blood and white threads were being pulled toward the vortex. The white python was broken in the middle. Its 1,000-foot-long tail and belly were torn into the tiniest essence chi and devoured by the Tao Tai returning to origin. Arg! The white python screamed and scattered its dharma and dharma. Wu Huan's dharma and true body seemed to have been destroyed. The dharma collapsed and turned into essence chi that was absorbed into the nascent soul. Wu Huan, whose legs were broken and his sternum and waist were shattered into countless pieces, retreated quickly. His blood splashed in the sky and his muscle fibers flew in the air. Swish, swish, swish. Ghost Wolf and many other half-soul formation overlords of the Dark Crow Guards went into the air and appeared behind Jiang Tian in the blink of an eye. They stabbed at him with their Dharma artifacts. They were all expert assassins, either relying on their bloodlines or secret divine abilities. Their movement techniques were extremely fast, and they could even tear apart space. They wanted to besiege Wei to rescue Zhao and rescue Wu Huan. There were also 4 powerful divine generals among the Golden Crow Guards. They turned into streaks of golden light and rushed toward Jiang Tian in an attempt to save Wu Huan. At this instant, the scene was extremely horrifying. The enormous Dharma idol soared through the sky, and it was either surging black lights, blazing flames that burned the sky, or soaring golden lights that possessed magnificent imposing auras. There were laws that rumbled and trembled as they interweaved with order and principle. There were even the experts of the Dark Crow Guard that moved through alternate spaces, appearing and disappearing unpredictably, and it was impossible to guard against. Humph. Jiang Tian only snorted softly. The 9-meter-long primal chaos divine disk behind him spun again. The sea-calming ice god Law rumbled and formed a true forbidden zone. In that instant, the space around Jiang Tian was locked down and solidified into an iron plate. Countless huge battleships were frozen in the air, like mosquitoes frozen in amber. Even the spatial ripples caused by the Dark Crow Guards condensed in the air and turned into transparent ripples. Some divine generals of the Dark Crow Guards had already broken through the alternate dimension. Half of their bodies had gone into the alternate dimension while the other half of their bodies were frozen in the air. Oh my God, how can there be such a terrifying forbidden zone in this world? At this moment, everyone was screaming and howling. Even if they were nascent soul cultivators or half-step soul formation cultivators, they could not move at all. They could not even move a finger. If the current Jiang Tian wanted to kill them, who would be able to resist or escape? It could be said that Jiang Tian was able to control their life and death with just this one technique. In front of Jiang Tian, they were just fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. I said I'm going to kill you, so I'm going to kill you. Who can stop me? Jiang Tian said resolutely, creating ripples with every step he took, causing the space to fluctuate. Save the captain. At this moment, many golden core cultivators of the White Python Guards went crazy. If Wu Huan died, they would also be sentenced to death. That was the rule of the 9 guards. They had to be absolutely loyal. Soldiers were trained for 1,000 days to be used in a single moment. If their general was about to die, wouldn't it be a waste for them to spend so many elixirs and resources to raise them? They burned their golden cores and rushed towards Jiang Tian like rainbows that pierced through the sky. There were more than 1,000 of them, and they went straight for the ice god's forbidden zone, trying to destroy it. But all of that was in vain. Jiang Tian's forbidden zone was extremely solid and hard. They couldn't leave even the slightest crack on it, no matter how hard they tried. Go to hell. After a shout, the 10-foot divine plate behind Jiang Tian shone brightly, like a sun in the sky. It was extremely bright and eye-catching, and the true seal of the law of Taotai was activated to the extreme. Boom! Wu Huan's body, which was said to be indestructible and strong enough to withstand thousands of close-range nuclear explosions, exploded like a balloon. Pieces of divine bones were shot out and blood was everywhere. His nascent soul, which was close to a god, also collapsed and turned into rolling energy, which was absorbed by the Taotai returning to the origin. From the beginning to the end, only a few seconds had passed. The captain of the White Python Guards, a half-soul formation overlord who ranked third among the 9 guards of the Emperor of the Ruins, had died. Everyone went silent. The golden core cultivators of the White Python Guards outside were terrified, as if they had lost their parents. They floated outside the ice god's forbidden zone like clay statues, motionless and forgetting to attack or run away. Is the captain dead? After a while, a peak stage golden core cultivator's eyes almost popped out as he said in disbelief. That was too shocking. Wu Huan was infamous in the entire ruins of deity. He had killed all the nascent soul cultivators and was invincible. The White Python Guards he led had the power to destroy a second-level world. And yet, he had died in such a miserable way on that day. The captain is dead. Another golden core perfected cultivator murmured. The elders and sect masters of the 6 heavenly sects of the Hylon world were extremely shocked. They didn't dare to underestimate Jiang Tian anymore, as if they had seen a devil. Activate the god-killing light cannon. Break his forbidden zone. Kill him. Then, Shen Chang gave an order with cold eyes. There was cold sweat on his forehead and he looked unprecedentedly serious, as if he were facing a powerful enemy. In fact, he had never seen a cultivator as fierce and powerful as Jiang Tian. He was only a golden core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator, but he had the ability to kill a half-soul formation cultivator. Besides, he had mastered at least 5 Dharma laws and forbidden zones, including the most terrifying one, the Dimension Forbidden Zone. That was just too evil. Captain Shen Chang, we can't do that. The divine generals of the Dark Crow Guards are still controlled by his forbidden zone. If we use the god-killing light cannon to break the dimension, they will all die. A gold core realm cultivator from the Dark Crow Guards said earnestly. In fact, not only were the divine generals of the Dark Crow Guards controlled by Jiang Tian's ice god forbidden zone, but Long Xingnan was also among them. However, no one cared about her life at all. The ruins of deity had a strict hierarchy and the worlds were separated by a natural barrier. Especially since Long Xingnan was a native of the ancient deity land who was enslaved, those cultivators were even worse than dogs in the eyes of the overlords of the ruins of deity. Even if you were do I need you to question my orders? Shen Chang pointed his finger and a ray of golden light shot out. The body of the Dark Crow Guard exploded and even his golden core was shattered. He died instantly. He was decisive and ruthless to the extreme. He would never hesitate or be soft-hearted just because his comrades were held hostage by Jiang Tian. He was definitely a qualified commander. Before Shen Chang finished his sentence, thousands of giant battleships shot out beams of god-killing light cannon. Chapter 1467. Those light beams contained Dharma laws. Even though they were launched by a true artifact, they were large true artifacts. After being strengthened several times, their power was comparable to that of a Tao artifact. They could even destroy the dimension and turn it into a black hole. One attack was equivalent to the explosion of thousands of nuclear weapons. No golden core heavenly lord would be able to withstand it for a second. It could kill thousands of golden core heavenly lords, and even nascent soul heavenly lords would die. Even a soul formation grand cultivator would have a headache when facing thousands of god-killing light cannons at the same time. Boom! The air shook and the shockwaves spread thousands of miles away, as if the sky had been torn apart. The gigantic hurricane was like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves as it swept away the vitality of all living creatures. The ground trembled violently, and many gigantic mountain peaks were snapped in half and razed to the ground. I'm going to die. I'm doomed. Long Xingnan was so terrified that her face turned pale and she trembled. Then, she suddenly realized that she was just an ant in the eyes of the overlords of the ruins of deity. She wasn't worth mentioning at all. She also noticed that the sect masters and elders of 6 of the 7 heavenly sects of the Hailan world had gone to suppress Jiang Tian. Only the Dragon Clan hadn't shown up. It's possible that the Dragon Clan has been exterminated by the Emperor of the Ruins. The Emperor of the Ruins is ruthless. As she was frightened, a thought came to her mind uncontrollably. She was completely engulfed by anger and grief. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold and his face was full of disdain. He took a step forward and waved his sleeve, wrapping around Long Xingnan. He used the Kuan Peng's extreme speed to break through space and enter the strange space, disappearing. Boom! His forbidden domain had indeed been torn apart by the god-destroying light cannon. Even the laws of the immeasurable sea ice god had been shattered. Streaks of spatial cracks of various colors appeared. They were incomparably beautiful and resplendent as they extended through the forbidden domain like tentacles. The dimension was annihilated, forming a dark black hole that was extremely deep. A black hole was an absolute void. Even time and space did not exist within it. It was countless times more empty than a vacuum. For a moment, countless space currents surged toward the black hole like colorful ribbons, and rivers. The force field was distorted, causing a terrifying space collapse. Any nascent soul cultivator within a 100-mile radius would be minced into pieces. Even a real soul formation cultivator would be severely injured if they were able to survive. A blood-curdling scream rang out. The mournful wails shook the heavens and earth. Many divine generals of the Dark Crow Guard were skilled in the space escape technique. However, they were helpless in front of the terrifying space collapse. They could not even break free. Crack! Some divine generals' bodies were torn apart, their blood and organs flying in the air. Even their golden cores were cut open neatly. Originally, the golden core fragment should have exploded uncontrollably once it was broken, but for some unknown reason, it did not explode and simply floated in the air. Another divine general exploded in the air like a rotten watermelon. His broken limbs and blood splashed all over the sky. Then, he was crushed into powder and blood mist. There were also some whose heads, limbs, and organs flew in all directions as if they had been torn apart by 5 horses. Even if they were separated by 10 miles, 100 miles, they were still alive. Instead, they were screaming miserably, but they were unable to control their own bodies. There were even divine generals whose bodies had entered spatial fragments. The spatial fragments would sometimes collapse and sometimes expand. Their bodies were like inflated toads that would sometimes expand to a height of 1,000 feet or even 1,000 feet, covering the sky and the sun. In the next moment, they would become inch-long dolls that were almost invisible. But everyone knew that they were going to die. Both Jiang Tian's Forbidden Land and the God-killing light cannon contained the power of Dharma laws. Once they were affected, they would be permanently damaged and couldn't be healed. It was like a mortal body being exposed to nuclear radiation at a close distance. The power of Dharma laws couldn't be removed easily. It was hidden in their bodies and kept releasing killing intent and death chi. It might not disappear even after they died. Other than Ghost Wolf, many other half-soul formation divine generals of the Dark Crow Guards died or were severely injured. However, Jiang Tian actually disappeared without a trace. He did not receive the slightest injury. What was invincible? At this moment, the strength that Jiang Tian displayed was called invincible. 8 half-soul formation divine generals, each of whom was extremely powerful and had their own strengths, were killed in an instant. Including the overlords of the White Python Guards, a total of 17 half-soul formation divine generals had died. Clatter, clatter, clatter. How can he be so powerful? He's just a golden core cultivator and a nascent soul formation cultivator, but he killed half-soul formation cultivators as easily as killing chickens. We're too weak. Shizhenxiang, the sect master of the Heavenly Incense sect, Jing Shimen, the sect master of the Wendao sect and the other overlords of the heavenly sects from the Hailan world were terrified. They trembled and their teeth chattered. They were all nascent soul heavenly lords and had sharp eyes. They could certainly see that Jiang Tian's Dharma laws were flawless and perfect. They were even more powerful than the Dharma laws of the Ruins Emperor. Even the direct descendants of Prince Chiu Ming were no match for him. That made them even more terrified. They had no idea who Jiang Tian was. This guy is too terrifying. His dimension law is too powerful. After he went into the dimension, there weren't any space waves. I can't even see which dimension he went into. Ghost Wolf's face was as pale as a corpse that had been dead for 3 days. Even though he had escaped, he didn't feel good. The dark crow feathers all over his body fell and the wings formed by his cloak were bleeding. That was because his blood was about to run out and his Dharma power wasn't stable. Where is he? Shen Chang also shouted and looked a bit panicked. He stood majestically in the sky above the fleet of the Golden Crow Guard. His eyes, which were like 2 divine lamps, emitted 2 dazzling pillars of light that were 300 meters long. As they swept around, they seemed to be able to penetrate the deepest depths of hell and see through the sun and moon. This was his supreme eye technique, and it was capable of seeing through alternate spaces, causing all demons and monsters to have nowhere to hide. However, at this moment, he was unable to find a trace of Jiang Tian. His immortal will, which belonged to a half-soul formation cultivator, was pushed out like waves, filling the air in a 1,000-mile range and not letting any detail go. Are you looking for me? Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind Shen Chang, which was less than 10 meters away. It sounded like the whisper of a devil from the depths of hell. Damn it! Cold sweat immediately appeared on Shen Chang's forehead. He had never thought that Jiang Tian's dimension art would be so powerful that he didn't even notice him behind him. Golden Crow Claw. Shen Chang didn't even turn around. He formed a claw with his right hand and grabbed behind him. Suddenly, the bird's claw, which was even bigger than a mansion, seemed to be made of precious gold. It shone with a golden light and even tore the space apart, creating 5 black space cracks. It was extremely dense and sharp as it grabbed towards Jiang Tian. Even more terrifying was that along with this strike of his, blazing and monstrous flames instantly filled the entire sky behind him. The temperature was terrifyingly high, causing all the rocks in an area of 50 kilometers to melt and shatter, causing them to lose all vitality and transform into ash. Those flames were made of extremely advanced fire laws. They could turn all the energy around into a part of the flames, like the sun's essence, and the true fire of the sun. Shen Chang was definitely not weak and he had a lot of battle experience. He used his ultimate attack right away, using the limit of a half-soul formation cultivator. He didn't talk nonsense or taunt, which would only put him in a passive position. Chapter 1468. Swish. Only Ghost Wolf, the leader of the Dark Crow Guards, could see that Jiang Tian had already slashed 5 or 6 times before he left. These blades didn't have any shape at all, but they were able to easily break through space. They were actually condensed from supreme space laws, and they were like illusions as they silently slashed towards Shen Chang's back. After those slashes, Jiang Tian seemed to be exhausted. He panted slightly before Shen Chang's golden crow claw reached him. He disappeared into the void like a ghost. Void-shattering slash. That was a space saber technique that could only be used when the Kunpeng extreme speed divine body reached the transcendence realm. It could directly break through space and destroy everything. It was extremely dangerous. At that moment, Jiang Tian could only use the Kunpeng extreme speed divine body to travel through space. It was more of a space escape technique than a space attack technique. It was no longer in the category of ordinary laws. It was close to the Great Tao. Even a normal soul formation realm cultivator might not be able to use it. It was too mysterious and magical. In the eyes of the crowd, Jiang Tian retreated after Xinchang stretched out his claw and burned the sky. Because Jiang Tian's slash was too fast, no one saw it. He's no match for Captain Xinchang. He can only run away. Many cultivators from the upper world smiled proudly. Then they heard. Bang, bang, bang. Terrifying explosions spread across the entire Black Rock City and the ancient demon abyss. Xinchang was like a soccer ball that had been kicked away by someone. He leaped into the air and flew out for over 100 miles. Jiang Tian's nirvana void-splitting blade was like a maggot in a tarsal bone. The power of law rolled out like a tide, continuously injuring him. That was the power of laws and order. It was far more powerful than any physical attack and had a long-lasting effect. Once infected, it could kill you for decades or even centuries. Even though Xinchang burned his Golden Crow bloodline and used the sun essence to protect his body, he still couldn't withstand it. Jiang Tian's space blade technique transcended all matter, and the related laws were above all things. Even though Xinchang's sun essence and true fire were extremely strong to protect his body, he was still slashed to the point where he spurted out blood. Huge wounds opened up on his body as sparkling and translucent god blood dyed the sky. Even the fragments of his internal organs shot out. Wherever the blade aura reached, dozens of metal ships that were a few thousand feet long were split in half. The terrifying dimension laws destroyed everything. Large Dharma artifacts such as the god-destroying light cannons inside the ships were crushed and turned into giant fireballs. The lightning pierced through the sky like a giant python and burned all the Golden Crow warriors on the battleship. Even the nascent soul captain was burnt to ashes. Hiss. At this moment, all the cultivators from the upper realm fell silent. Only the sound of people inhaling cold breaths could be heard. Including the Golden Crow mothership that had already turned around and activated the god-destroying light cannon, it also froze in the void. Between the heavens and the earth, space-time gales howled as lightning and flames intersected and rumbled. Countless warriors from the upper world were dumbfounded. The warriors of the Golden Crow Guards didn't come from Fusang and Luya in the Valley of Tang in the ancient deity ground. They were colonists from the South Gate 1 planet. The natives of the South Gate Galaxy were also a famous race in the universe. At least in the South Gate Galaxy, they were a peerless race with extremely powerful bloodlines. Each Golden Crow ship was made with divine mark red copper by hundreds of grand artifact masters from the Divine Craft Hall in the ruins of deities. Countless patterns and dharma laws were engraved on them and many precious crystals were inlaid. They could withstand dozens of full-strength attacks from a half-soul formation cultivator and were extremely powerful in terms of defense. Jiang Tian had destroyed dozens of ships with only the aftermath of the blade aura. His power was indeed shocking and unbelievable. He was far more powerful than normal half-soul formation cultivators. Not even Xinchang could do that. And there was Xinchang. He was the leader of the 9 guards that Prince Chiu Ming valued the most powerful half-soul formation cultivator who was infinitely close to the soul formation cultivator. He was famous across the world and dominated the worlds of the ruins of deities. Yet, today, he ended up in such a state, suppressed and beaten by Jiang Tian. At this moment, everyone was awakened. They all realized that Jiang Tian's power wasn't as simple as they thought. They had underestimated Jiang Tian's divine powers and dharma laws. Not even Captain Xinchang can defeat him. The overlords of the 6 heavenly sects of Hai Lan were so scared that they couldn't wait to run away. Is that a golden core cultivator? Is that a nascent soul cultivator? Ha, even a soul formation cultivator can't do much. Fairy Yao Yu was terrified. She only felt that the ant in the desolate galaxy in her eyes had suddenly transformed into a primordial divine beast that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, capable of swallowing the heavens and devouring the earth, and sweeping through all the worlds in the universe. What a peerless sword! I'm afraid I don't have a chance anymore. Wu Shujian wanted to cry and stomped his feet. He was indeed a sword maniac. He was still thinking about Jiang Tian's heaven-extinguishing sword. However, as soon as he thought about the heaven-extinguishing sword, his body trembled and his face turned pale. He pulled Fairy Yaoyu back 3,000 miles. He said with a trembling voice, this is still not his limit. Once he uses that peerless sword, it'll be even more terrifying. It's hard to say who will win this battle. His attitude had changed. What? Will Kang Teichu win? These are the 3 Golden Crow Guards. There are 100,000 Golden Core cultivators here. Fairy Yaoyu widened her eyes as if she were listening to a legend. 100,000 Golden Core cultivators was actually just a title. Even though some of them were Foundation Establishment cultivators, they were natives of the South Gate Galaxy after all. Their divine powers were compatible with the world and their Tao was natural. They could completely suppress the Golden Core perfected cultivators who came from the universe and practiced the traditional cultivation arts of the ancient deity land. So, they were also counted as Golden Core cultivators. Some cultivators were at the Foundation establishment level, but they could still display the power of a Golden Core cultivator with their Dharma treasures. But no matter what, there were at least tens of thousands of Golden Core powerhouses. They were like an iron curtain that covered the sky. Who could break through it? Just wait and see. Kang Teichu is indeed a Golden Core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator, but he's mastered too many Dharma laws. It's like a few nascent soul cultivators working together and his Dharma laws are too perfect. Wu Shujian was certain that he could already see the tragic fate of Shinchang and the others. He became serious and thought of many things. If Prince Qiuming couldn't defeat Kang Teichu after losing 3 guards, it would be an unprecedented defeat and even the Emperor of the Ruins would be alerted. Besides, the emperors and princes of the Ruins Emperor's palace were all fighting for power. The situation was extremely complicated and there might be some chaos. His thoughts ran wild. On the battlefield. Ah! How can you hurt me? Shinchang roared angrily, unable to accept the reality. Just now, he had pushed his Golden Crow bloodline to its limits. Even Sun Essence and Quintessential Fire were unleashed. Yet, he still failed to stop Jiang Tian. He had suffered several saber wounds and was in an extremely tragic state. At that moment, his armor was shattered and there were several deep saber wounds on his broad back. They were all penetrating wounds and one could see his pulsating organs, pale golden bones, and blood. Within the saber wounds, countless Kuan-Peng laws that could destroy space spiraled and swept across. They were formed from Kuan-Peng runes that were smaller than atoms. They were extremely unstable and filled with destructive power. They forcefully tore open his wounds and even spread into his body. Chi! 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 His expression was extremely grave as his hands trembled. He formed hand seals and chanted incantations. He used the astral steps and roared repeatedly to stimulate his Golden Crow bloodline. The nascent soul roared as flames that resembled quintessential fire and sun essence erupted from his wounds. It was the external manifestation of the Golden Crow's fire elemental laws. A wisp of flame could penetrate metal and stone, incinerate the heavens and boil the seas. It was extremely hot and intense as it attempted to burn Jiang Tian's Kuan-Peng space-shattering laws. Chapter 1469. Tisk, TSK, TSK. I've attacked you 5 times, but I still can't kill you. You're really strong. In the end, many ships fell. When the dust settled, Jiang Tian's figure flashed again in the vast sky, shaking his head regretfully. It seemed that he was frustrated that he couldn't kill Shinchang with a few attacks. Many people were shocked and angry. That was too infuriating and arrogant. A country bumpkin from a desolate planet dares to ride on our necks and pee. That kid is too arrogant. I can't stand it. Many people gnashed their teeth in hatred, wishing they could chew Jiang Tian to pieces. However, there were even more people who were trembling with fear and felt a chill in their hearts. Thinking about Jiang Tian's rise, although he was arrogant and unruly, although he seemed to be extremely reckless, almost every battle was a direct confrontation, and he did not use any schemes or tricks. But had he ever failed? No. He had been pushing all the way, starting from Earth and conquering all the dimensional worlds in the solar system. Then, he crossed 4 light years and arrived at the South Gate 1 planet. He swept and destroyed everything. If he wasn't 100% sure, he wouldn't have contacted you at all. He would only give you a thunderous blow when he had accumulated enough capital. Besides, he had an aura. At that moment, Jiang Tian's clothes were ragged and torn, revealing his strong and blood-stained body. His shoulder-length black hair was fluttering in the wind like a black waterfall. His body was as straight as a javelin, his eyes were like swords and his energy was like a rainbow. There was a kind of domineering and awe-inspiring aura that could sweep the world and destroy all living things, which made people's hearts palpitate. Protect Captain Xinchang. At that moment, the 8 divine generals under Xinchang's command all lined up and took up positions in all directions. Their violent energy filled the air as they confronted Jiang Tian. Xinchang was troubled by the Kunpeng space-breaking law left by Jiang Tian at the moment and couldn't be repaired. He was like a leaking balloon, unable to exert his power at all. Hylon Heavenly Sects, I didn't ask you to come down to the lower bound for sightseeing. All of you, attack Jiang Taichu. If anyone dares to back down, kill them all. One of the divine generals roared furiously. In their eyes, Hylon was a low-level world and was a descendant of the ancient celestial lands. That meant that they were slaves who were captured to be cannon fodder. However, because Wu Huan and the other master divine generals thought that killing Jiang Tian was foolproof, they took action themselves. In the end, they suffered heavy casualties. This made him very unhappy. He wanted nothing more than to kill these sea wave cultivators to vent his anger. Yes. We obey. Even though the potentates of the heavenly sect, such as Jing Shimin, were trembling with fear, they didn't dare to defy Jiang Tian. Because, under the blue sky, was the human world. Cultivators were also humans. They had Tao companions and children, and they also had feelings. If they didn't fight, not only would they be killed, their Tao companions and children would also be exterminated. Dark Crow Guard, support Captain Xinchang. Ghost Wolf ordered. Activate the God-destroying light cannon. Shoot them down. A divine general ordered. Activate the divine shield of the warship and defend the front. All the captains were shouting at the same time. This was very rare because these ships were still indestructible even if they didn't activate the Dharma artifacts. This design was originally used to deal with the cultivators from other planets. However, in fact, no cultivators from other planets had appeared in the South Gate galaxy for thousands of years, so this design was considered superfluous. And yet, it was activated that day. As the orders were passed down one after another. Rumble. Layers upon layers of defensive formations spread out on the ships like blooming lotuses. There were white pythons biting the sun, golden crows breathing fire, divine crows howling, Xian snakes and divine turtles. Countless strange phenomena appeared in the sky. This was the external appearance of the Dharma artifacts' Dharma powers. They were extremely powerful, 10 times stronger than the Dharma arrays of the Black Rock City. They could withstand an attack from a soul formation Grand Cultivator. Ha! Everything is in vain. I told you that you'll all die here today. While they were preparing, Jiang Tian had already begun to attack. Xinchang, don't waste your time. You can't break my Dharma laws. The only thing waiting for you is death. He didn't attack at close range. Instead, he appeared 100 kilometers away, and then he tore through the sky like a golden rainbow. Amidst his long laughter, he swaggered and charged towards Xinchang. Kill! A heavenly sect from the High Lan world attacked Jiang Tian from the side. More than 30 nascent soul heavenly lords joined forces and attacked together. How powerful would 30 nascent soul heavenly lords be when they attacked together? Besides, they knew how powerful Jiang Tian was, so they didn't show any mercy. The essence qi within a 100-mile radius was immediately sucked out and the sky collapsed. This attack was enough to destroy everything within a 100-mile radius. More than 30 completely different laws and powers converged into a torrent of energy that crashed down from the ninth heaven like a heavenly river. The chaotic light pillar was as thick as a mountain. It brought with it endless destructive power. It was going to smash Jiang Tian, the Black Rock City, and even the ancient demon abyss into dust. Facing this destructive attack, all the cultivators on the side were speechless. Qi Jiui was so frightened that he trembled and almost fell to the ground. Senior, Eo Jiao and Qi Liqui wanted to shout, but they couldn't. Their hearts were about to explode from the violent pressure. But the next second, Jiang Tian waved his hand as if he were sweeping away dust. It was as if a universe had been born from the bottom of his sleeves, reversing the sun and the moon. Heaven and earth were in chaos. The energy torrent that was as thick as a heavenly pillar was actually shattered into pieces. In the next moment, it was blown away by the endless astral winds, and not even a drop of residue was left. He's so powerful. Ao Jiao finally realized that Jiang Tian's 2 breakthroughs in the ancient demon abyss weren't simple. They were 10 times or 100 times more powerful. When he was facing more than 20 nascent soul heavenly lords above the 18 islands, Jiang Tian had to fight for a long time and even used the heavenly sword. But now, Jiang Tian had really destroyed them with a wave of his sleeve. No nascent soul heavenly lords could stop him. How is that possible? The sect master of the heavenly sect was someone who was on par with Long Baxia. He also thought highly of himself, but he couldn't even withstand a wave of Jiang Tian's sleeve. Again. He shouted. He didn't want to accept failure. He used his immortal will and used his secret art to kill Jiang Tian, even if he had to burn his nascent soul. It's too late. But Jiang Tian didn't give them a chance. Poof. Then, under the dumbfounded gazes of countless cultivators, Jiang Tian casually pointed out with his finger, as if it was an understatement. The sect master of the heavenly sect, who was a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator and a mid-grade nascent soul cultivator, who was the vanguard and wanted to make a contribution, was directly blown up in the air. Countless scarlet blood splashed in the air and broken limbs flew everywhere. After that, Jiang Tian waved his hand again. A golden blade aura 100 feet long cut 8 nascent soul elders and hall masters in half. Even their nascent souls didn't manage to escape in time and were crushed into powder by the Dharma laws of metal. In the end, Jiang Tian thought it was too slow to kill, so he turned into a beam of golden light and flashed into the crowd. He didn't rely on any dermic powers, nor did he use any Dao techniques. He relied purely on his physical body to charge forward. Like a golden comet shooting across the sky, he was like an extremely sharp heavenly sword that sliced through butter as he crashed into the group of heavenly sect cultivators who had attacked him. Boom! Above the ancient demon abyss, dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords from the upper world were hit by Jiang Tian or swept by his tail. All of them exploded as if they had been hit by a space battleship. Their sturdy bodies couldn't withstand the impact at all, and even their nascent souls were crushed. In a blink, the nascent soul heavenly lords of the ocean waves heavenly sect, who were a few hundred miles away, retreated much faster than when they attacked. All the overlords of the ocean waves heavenly sect, including the divine generals, looked at him in fear. Qi Jiui, Mingyi, Ta Kong, and even Wu Shujian widened their eyes. Countless creatures in the Yingzhou state, including mortals, cultivators, and beasts, were also dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost. At that moment, the entire world was in silence. That was an unprecedented terror, which made everyone's hair stand on end. It was even more shocking than when Jiang Tian killed so many semi-god realm cultivators. Chapter 1470. That was because Jiang Tian didn't use any divine powers or dharma forms. He only used his body to smash dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords. Just how tough is this kid's body? Even a soul formation body can't compare to him. Many nascent soul heavenly lords of the Hylon world thought. However, this was not the end. Jiang Tian drew a series of arcs in the sky. His body turned into a golden rainbow, and he was like a peerless heavenly blade sweeping through everything in his path. He was unscrupulous. Rumble. Another sea below world's Empyrean sect camp was torn apart. Blood dyed the sky and severed limbs flew everywhere. It was incomparably bloody and callous. Run. He's terrifying. My leg. Dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords were screaming and running away. They couldn't resist at all. They were smashed into pieces like wooden sculptures being smashed by a giant hammer. Stop. How dare you? Kang Te-chu, don't be so arrogant. The divine generals of the Golden Crow Guards were shocked. They had never thought that Jiang Tian would be so powerful. He had reached the level of evilness and evil. Not even a half-soul formation cultivator could kill a nascent soul cultivator so easily with his body. I'll fight you. Two of the divine generals stepped out and charged towards Jiang Tian. The remaining divine generals stood guard around Xinchang, protecting him as he healed. The two divine generals had cold expressions, as if they were high and mighty gods looking down on a wild beast. Golden aura swirled around them, and flames spewed out of them. Boom! Jiang Tian didn't dare to underestimate them. He immediately activated the gung metal fist and threw a punch at one of them. Gung metal fist. The gung metal immortal body was unleashed, and his fist was imbued with a deathless, indestructible aura that could destroy anything. The sun and the moon were reversed, and heaven and earth were thrown into chaos. A spatial tunnel was opened. That was the 9th divine general of the Golden Crow, Xinchang's brother. He had a noble status among the Golden Crows in the ruins of deity and was also very powerful. But in the face of Jiang Tian's punch, the 9th divine general turned into a streak of resplendent golden light. He wanted to dodge, but he still let out a miserable howl. Half of his body was blasted apart. Golden blood splattered everywhere. His severed limbs were sent flying with surging flames. Everyone was shocked, not daring to believe it. The 9th Golden Crow Divine General was extremely powerful. The Golden Crow Guard was the head of the 9 guards, and the 9 guards of the Golden Crow Guard were the most powerful and terrifying of all the Divine Generals in the 9 guards. The 9th Golden Crow Divine General's strength was on par with the other guard captains. He was very famous in the ruins of immortality. Moreover, this Kang Te-chu's strength seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. As the battle progressed, he could actually defeat a half-step divine transformation realm cultivator with one punch. It was too terrifying. Jiang Tian pointed in the air and was about to kill the 9th Golden Crow Divine General. At this moment, the 6th-ranked Divine General rushed over and roared, "Don't hurt my 9th brother." He was like a great sun that covered the sky. Golden light shone resplendently as flames surged outwards. He relied on the Golden Crow bloodline's innate divine ability to control metal and flame natural laws. It was extremely rare and powerful. "You're courting death." Jiang Tian didn't hold back at all. He waved his fingers and the gung metal divine blade swept forward, directly cutting the 6th Golden Crow Divine General in half. Even his nascent soul was crushed. "Kang Te-chu, you'll be hunted down for going against the ruins Emperor's Palace and Prince Chiu Ming. Prince Chiu Ming will cut you into pieces even if he has to go to the ends of the world. You'll have to fall to hell and never be burned to ashes." Before his nascent soul was completely destroyed, the 6th Divine General was still cursing and roaring with hatred. He couldn't accept that he had been killed by an outsider from a barren planet. "You'll be the one to go to hell first. Go to hell with your resentment." Jiang Tian performed the return of the Tao Tai and completely swallowed his nascent soul, turning it into the purest energy and infusing it into the golden core of the divine plate. The cores representing the red sparrow and gung metal seemed to have become more solid and resplendent. Then, he flicked his finger and penetrated the forehead of the 9th Golden Crow Divine General, who was about to retreat to the army. Even his nascent soul was crushed. Kill. Let's attack together. He's too powerful. If we don't get rid of him today, he'll be a huge threat in the future. Avenge 9th and 6th brother. The other Golden Crow Divine Generals also yelled and led 100 nascent soul heavenly lords to surround Jiang Tian, like an iron curtain in the sky. You're courting death. Jiang Tian wasn't afraid at all. He took out the sky-shaking bow and moved around while shooting arrows in all directions. Those divine generals and grand cultivators couldn't dodge in time and died while screaming. The sky-shaking bow was a treasure left from the ancient times. Its power was unpredictable and it had once killed the light sacred ones on earth. At the moment, the treasure was in Jiang Tian's hands. It complemented Jiang Tian's 9 divine bodies and 9 laws, making him 10 times more powerful. Every time the 10-meter-long divine disc behind him spun, it would shoot out arrows of different attributes, containing different laws of fire. There were golden arrows, ice arrows, fire arrows, wooden arrows, and so on. There were so many different types of arrows that it was impossible to guard against. It's like shooting an eagle with a bow. It's too easy and casual. In the distance, many cultivators from the upper worlds were frightened. Kang Taechu attacked ruthlessly without any restraint. The situation of the battle had taken a turn for the worse. He had already gained the absolute advantage and had become the main character on the battlefield. Swish, swish, swish. Jiang Tian shot at the other divine generals and grand cultivators to distract them. His real targets were Shenchang and Ghost Wolf. At this moment, Shenchang and Ghost Wolf were in a sorry state. They were being chased by arrows, and the entire place was in chaos. The sharp arrows pierced through the air. Each of them was a mile long and contained the power of laws. They pierced through space. They contained the power of laws and seemed to have spirituality. If they didn't hit the target, they would fly and chase for a long time. They were like cruise missiles. Ah! Kang Taechu, if I weren't injured, I would have killed you as easily as killing a chicken. Shenchang's hair was disheveled as he shouted in exasperation. He had just removed the hepta-metal law from a few saber scars when he was shot again, causing one of his arms to explode. Ever since he started cultivating, he had never suffered such a serious injury or suffered such a great loss. Moreover, he was even more miserable this time. His body was infected by 7 or 8 laws. The situation was complicated and extremely difficult to remove. He was like a patient who had been exposed to nuclear radiation. The laws were invading his nascent soul like maggots. Shenchang took out flaming feathers, which became bigger in the wind and fluttered around him like flaming flags. This was the remains of a soul formation grand cultivator of their ancestor when he passed away. It contained a vast amount of Dharma power, trying to block Jiang Tian's attack. Captain, enter the Golden Crow's mothership to heal. A divine general shouted. Half of his body was broken and stained with blood. He used his Dharma power to block Jiang Tian's arrows, but he was shot away like a rag doll. Escort me into the mothership. Although Shenchang was unwilling, he had to accept reality and could only give the order. Jiang Tian's methods were too terrifying. He attacked from afar and at close range. With one arrow, nascent soul cultivators fell like rain. His punches and kicks could kill divine generals. He was simply invincible. Chapter 1471. In the end, Shenchang finally made it into the Golden Crow's mothership after losing 2 divine generals and injuring many nascent soul cultivators. Rumble. The many arrows that Jiang Tian released hit the Golden Crow mothership. Instantly, they exploded like fireworks. They did not penetrate the mothership and did not even leave many marks. All cultivators, get into the ships. Activate the Dharma artifacts on the ships and fire from afar. A divine general gritted his teeth and ordered, his eyes red with hatred. Originally, Xiaochen thought that with the 3 guards and 6 sects working together, killing Jiang Tian in the lower realm would be as easy as going on a scenic tour. They had never thought that they would suffer such a cruel defeat. More than 20 famous half-step divine transformation realm cultivators had died, and countless nascent soul heavenly lords had died. This was a great loss for them and they couldn't bear it. However, he still had to order everyone to retreat into the ship to avoid the brunt of the attack. Under Jiang Tian's full power, whether it was the original leveled cultivators or those who were half a step away from the divine transformation realm, they were all crushed like mud. Swish, swish, swish. In fact, Shi Zhenxiang, Jing Shimin, and the other nascent soul heavenly lords had already lost their minds. However, they didn't dare to retreat because the 3 guards were supervising the battle. After receiving the order, they didn't hesitate at all. They all jumped into the ships like homeless dogs. Those ships were made with rare metals and were engraved with countless patterns and dharma laws. They could withstand the attack of a half-soul formation cultivator and last for a while. Kang Te-Chu, I'm going to cut you into pieces today. If I recover, you'll die within 3 attacks. Shen Chang shouted. He had used all kinds of secret arts and paid a great price to suppress the dharma laws left in his wounds. He could still fight. After all the cultivators entered the ships. Fire. As the order was given, beams of light, black light, and blazing fire interweaved and shot towards Jiang Tian. Every single one of them was extremely dangerous. Yao Yu Fairy asked, Brother Shujian, what do you think will happen next? The fleets of the 3 guards have been here for 10,000 years. There are countless arrays and foundations on each ship, especially on the mothership. Even if Jiang Taichu is very strong, has a strong physical body, and can control supreme laws, it is still very difficult for him to destroy these ships. Wu Shujian shook his head and said, that's because the divine generals are too weak. It can be said that Captain Shen and the others were too careless in this battle. If they had hidden in the Golden Crow mothership and attacked from the beginning, they might not have been able to take down Jiang Taichu with such heavy losses. However, even if Jiang Taichu is unable to kill Shen Chang and annihilate the 3 guards and 6 sects, with the strength he has displayed now, it would be difficult for Shen Chang and the others to kill him. Right now, Jiang Taichu can come and go as he pleases. He's invincible and nothing can stop him. When the surrounding cultivators heard this, all of them were terrified. Even Yao Yu Fairy was startled and her heart was in turmoil. The mighty 3 golden crow guards were like heavenly soldiers in the ruins of deity. They were invincible. The 6 heavenly sects of the Hailan world were also powerful. And yet, 100,000 golden core cultivators, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and many half-soul formation cultivators were suppressed by one person. If this news were to spread to the upper worlds, it would cause a huge uproar. Even if Jiang Taichu didn't manage to kill all of them in the end, the fact that he was able to kill a half-step soul formation cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator at the same time shows that he's a genius. He can be considered the #1 cultivator in the ocean wave world. Many people exclaimed. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian hid in the dimension and showed up from time to time to avoid the attacks from the ships. His eyes were calm and emotionless. Kang Te-Chu, I'll recover soon. You're no match for me. Why don't we shake hands and make peace? If you surrender now, I won't kill you. Instead, I'll ask Prince Chiu Ming to spare your life. Prince Chiu Ming needs people and I think he'll use you. I'm not kidding and I won't go back on my words. Everyone here can be a witness. Shen Chang said in a deep voice as he quickly repaired his body. At this moment, everyone thought that Jiang Tian would go with the flow and lower his head to admit defeat. After all, he was already the most powerful cultivator in the world. There was nothing embarrassing about surrendering to Prince Chiu Ming. But Jiang Tian shouted. Prince Chiu Ming, who does he think he is? He's not worthy of being looked at by me, Kang Te-Chu. Shake hands and make peace. You don't know that this world already belongs to me, Kang Te-Chu. From the moment you invaded this world without any prior notice, your fates were already sealed. You can only die. After he said that, how dare you? In your dreams. Bastard. Angry roars could be heard from the warships. Then, there was an earth-shattering explosion. Beams of light shot across the sky, wind howled and the sun appeared in the sky. The Dharma artifacts on the ships were all activated. The area where Jiang Tian was immediately turned into a chaotic current. The sky darkened and the sun and moon dimmed. Each wave of Dharma laws could kill a nascent soul heavenly lord. Thousands of Dharma laws filled the sky and surged towards Jiang Tian like an ocean. Jiang Tian was not afraid at all. His tattered clothes fluttered in the wind, making flapping sounds. Around his body, there was a 10-zhang-long black Taotai vortex. All the light pillars, dark winds, and flames that came in front of the vortex immediately fell into it, vanishing into thin air as they were devoured. Xinchang, do you think you still have a chance to recover? Jiang Tian snickered and mocked. Do you think I can't do anything to you if you hide in your turtle shell? Fine. Today, I'll let you so-called deities, divine officials and divine generals of the upper world see what real power is. Jiang Tian's words were resolute and decisive. He, this kid, does he really want to destroy our ship? He can indeed destroy normal ships, but what about the space carriers? Didn't he see that when his arrow hit the mothership, it exploded and didn't even leave a white mark? Many cultivators mocked Jiang Tian. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was like an ant trying to shake a tree. He was laughable and overestimating himself. Just as the crowd was mocking Jiang Tian, they suddenly saw Jiang Tian reach out and grab at the ancient demon abyss. Rumble. Under the horrified gaze of countless people, a 10,000-foot mountain rose from the ground and flew above the Golden Crow space carriers. It fell from the sky like a falling asteroid. At this moment, countless cultivators from the upper world looked up in shock. 10,000 feet was dozens of miles. A mountain that was dozens of miles tall was almost the size of a city on Earth. Jiang Tian's grab forcefully lifted up an entire city, and then smashed it down from above. How terrifying was that power? How terrifying was his strength? He was like a god. Clang! The 10,000-foot mountain smashed into the Golden Crow space carriers. The defensive array that had been activated long ago was completely activated under the violent collision. Flames burned the sky and sword energy shot into the sky, illuminating thousands of miles. The huge mountain was blocked by the defense and attack of the defensive array. In the end, it collapsed. Ha! Kang Te-chu, do you think you can destroy my Golden Crow space carriers with a few broken stones? Are you kidding me? How ignorant! Just as Xinchang showed a mocking smile. Mountain, come! The 3-foot bright disk behind him spun. Jiang Tian was shrouded by the shadow of the thick earth dragon. He roared like a dragon and grabbed with both hands. Second one. Third one. Fourth one. Jiang Tian was like a god in the myths and legends. He had infinite divine power. As soon as he reached out his hand, a gigantic mountain weighing hundreds of millions of tons was lifted and smashed down with a rumble. Almost in the blink of an eye, he grabbed hundreds of mountains and the Golden Crow space carriers were hit hundreds of times. Chapter 1472. How is that possible? Looking at the mountains that were falling like rain, Xinchang's smile froze on his face and he couldn't smile anymore. Nascent soul cultivators could only lift a 1,000-foot mountain at most. It was already difficult to lift a 100,000-foot mountain and they had to burn their nascent souls. However, Jiang Tian could easily lift 100,000-foot mountains and smash them with the power of heaven and earth. It was terrifying and not even a half-soul formation cultivator could do that. Defend. Open the array. Open the array completely. Retreat. Retreat. Xinchang gave many orders with his immortal will. Rumble. Kacha. Above the Golden Crow's mothership, the layers of protective formations collapsed and exploded under this wild and destructive force. After 100 mountains fell, the Golden Crow's mothership was already half dead. At least half of the arrays were destroyed and flames and black smoke were everywhere. Phew! Just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief. The Golden Crow's mothership retreated quickly and spewed out flames towards Jiang Tian. Many ships surged like tides and crossed the sky, shooting at Jiang Tian. The divine disk behind Jiang Tian spun and a mighty winged dragon jumped out with a craggy ancient stone cauldron in its arms. Jiang Tian sneered and said, "The first 100 mountains are just the appetizer. This is my real attack. Everyone, you can leave your last words." The winged dragon came out with the cauldron and flew above the Golden Crow's mothership, smashing the primal chaos stone cauldron down from the sky. When the cauldron came out, it was easy at first and there were no Dharma power fluctuations. Kang Te-Chu must be exhausted. He actually used a small stone cauldron to smash people. He must be exhausted. He's just a golden core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator. It's already difficult for him to lift 100,000-foot mountain, let alone 100 at once. I'm afraid he'll vomit blood later. A stone cauldron the size of a millstone wants to smash our Golden Crow's mothership. His head must have been kicked by a donkey. Many cultivators from the higher realms didn't recognize the might of the primal chaos source cauldron. They couldn't help but mock and ridicule it, laughing like pigs. However, the more the primal chaos source cauldron smashed down, the more grand and terrifying its might became. In the end, it was as if a vast continent was pressing down. Chaotic chi swirled around and each chaotic chi could kill a nascent soul heavenly lord. There were more than thousands of them at the moment. Countless galactic crystal sands turned into mountains and giant rocks that were shot out in all directions, as if billions of nuclear weapons had been detonated. Each of them had the power to destroy the world. The galaxy crystal sand was only a derivative of the primal chaos source cauldron, but at this moment, it could easily crush ships and even tear apart true artifact-level defensive arrays. For a moment. Rumble. The ships collapsed one after another, bursting into flames. Billowing black smoke soared into the sky like smoke signals. The world was in chaos. Help! Senior Tai-Chu, spare my life. For a time, countless cultivators, at least 10 or 20,000, were crushed, burned, or minced into meat paste, whether golden core or nascent soul. At that moment, the heavens cried out in unison, shaking everything within 10,000 miles. There was nothing left in the sky except for the giant stone cauldron that carried the energy of the beginning of the world. It was as heavy as a world and its power suppressed the world. No Dharma arrays or Dharma treasures could resist it. Even a half-soul formation cultivator would have to suffer in front of it. Bang! In the end, they were fiercely smashed by the chaotic source cauldron. Under the copious and irresistible force of the cauldron, countless formations were like eggshells that were struck by a sledgehammer, and they didn't even persist for a single instant before shattering into pieces. In the end, the entire Golden Crow's mothership was crushed by the primal chaos source cauldron like a clay toy and fell into an endless sea of fire. At that moment, none of the 10,000 golden core cultivators on the ship survived. Even 100 famous nascent soul heavenly lords were burned to ashes and crushed into powder. How is that possible? Seeing this, everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. Many people didn't know how powerful the Golden Crow's mothership was. That wasn't strange. This was because ever since the Golden Crow mothership was successfully built, it had always been able to kill anything that stood in its way. It was invincible. Nascent soul cultivators and soul formation cultivators were no match for it. And yet, looking at the Golden Crow's mothership that was blown away like a sand sculpture, everyone felt that everything was like a nightmare. The Golden Crow's mothership, which was 10,000 feet long and had been built by heavenly craftsmen for hundreds of years and countless heavenly treasures, as well as countless Golden Crow guards on it, were turned into ashes after Jiang Tian's attack. Not even a drop of dust was left. Only black smoke and metal pieces were left in the sky. The majestic ship was nowhere to be seen. It seemed to have been wiped out from the world by an entity. The entire Golden Crow's mothership and the cultivators on it had disappeared. Below them, however, appeared an imprint that was extremely deep and dark, like a lake in a high gorge. It was created by the energy of the primal chaos source cauldron. This attack is comparable to that of a soul formation cultivator and a grand cultivator. Many people were dumbfounded and their souls were about to leave their bodies. He didn't do it with his own power, but with that strange stone cauldron. Many nascent soul heavenly lords with sharp eyes suddenly realized something. But there was nothing to say. This was a battlefield, not a battle in a sect where the winner was king and the loser was an ant. Nobody had the right to restrict the other's means. Using Dharma treasures, Dharma artifacts, sneak attacking or even holding the other's family and friends hostage, it was enough to kill the other party. That stone cauldron is so powerful. It's definitely a deity treasure. Why is Kang Tae-chu so lucky? He's from the solar system, but he has so many treasures. Wu Shujian was envious. He was sure that if that stone cauldron appeared in the ruins of deity, it would cause a huge uproar and many princes would want to fight for it. Kang Tae-chu has turned the tables. Could it be that he will win? Fairy Yao Yu's eyes also widened in shock. I guess so. Wu Shujian heaved a sigh and said, Shen Chang hasn't destroyed the Dharma laws left by Kang Tae-chu yet. If he fights with Kang Tae-chu, he won't have a chance of winning. Besides, a defeated army is like a landslide. Kang Tae-chu has even destroyed the most powerful Golden Crow mothership. The other ships aren't safe at all. Before he finished, he saw a few black dots flying out from the ruins of the Golden Crow mothership. They were Shen Chang and a few other divine generals and heavenly lords. At this time, Shen Chang's hair was messy and his body was covered in blood. His armor was broken and his robe was torn. He looked like a stray dog. The chaotic source stone cauldron was a deity treasure. It was owned by Emperor Zhongli in the past. It had the power of nature and could nourish thousands of creatures. It had countless uses and was invaluable. If it fell into the hands of a soul formation overlord, he could create a grotto heaven. If a deity emperor obtained it, he could create a galaxy great world. If the primordial chaos god was able to create a universe, he could even create a universe. Jiang Tian's full-powered attack with the chaotic source stone cauldron was terrifying. Unless it was a nascent soul heavenly lord in a cabin with multiple protection or a half-step soul formation cultivator with many Dharma artifacts, no one could resist that attack. Even so, only a few of them survived. Almost all of them were wiped out. Kang Tae-chu, you destroyed my mothership, killed my brothers and slaughtered my guards. Even the water of the heavenly river can't wash away this hatred. Shen Chang gritted his teeth and almost spurted out blood. Now, I've sacrificed 500 years of my life to destroy the Dharma laws you left in my body. My power has fully recovered. Today, if I don't destroy your body and extract your divine soul, I won't be the captain of the Golden Crow Guards, Shen Chang. Wu Shujian was shocked. Although Shen Chang was in a mess, the wounds on his body had healed and Jiang Tian's Dharma laws had also been erased. It's over. This time, Kang Tae-chu is in danger. Shen Chang's power alone can surpass all the divine generals. Wu Shujian rubbed his palms and thought about Jiang Tian's heaven-extinguishing sword again. Ha, do you think you can fight with me just because you've recovered your power? You're dreaming. I can kill you with one slash. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold when he saw this. He didn't say anything and directly took out the absolute heaven sword. He flicked the sword and sang loudly. Clanging sounds rang out, and his battle intent rose steadily. Chapter 1473. Kang Tae-chu, Captain Shen Chang has fully recovered. He's a peerless half-soul formation cultivator. Do you think you're a match for him? Stop resisting stubbornly. Your end is here. Surrender. This is your only chance. Don't make a mistake. After a brutal battle, there were only 3 divine generals left of the Golden Crow Guards. They had suffered heavy losses and their morale was extremely low. But when they saw that Shin Chang had recovered, they became more confident again, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They only thought that Jiang Tian would be vulnerable as long as Shin Chang was there. Jiang Taichu, we admit that we made a mistake and underestimated you. But you're still no match for Captain Shin Chang. No matter how strong you are, you're only a golden core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator, while he's infinitely close to the soul formation cultivator. This is the difference between mortals and deities, humans and gods. It's like a natural chasm that can't be crossed. Kneel down and surrender. You've killed too many people. That's unforgivable. Even Jing Shimin and Shi Zhenxiang, who had been scared out of their wits, walked out of the ship and jumped up and down, scolding Jiang Tian, trying to persuade him to surrender and threaten him. I've killed too many people. That's unforgivable. Jiang Tian's face was full of mockery. His eyes were as cold as steel. He asked coldly, how many people did you kill when you invaded this world? Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, right? Aren't they human? You came to assassinate me without declaring war. Do you think I should just stretch out my neck and let you kill me without any resistance? Your lives are important, but are our lives not important? That's right. A Golden Crow Divine General took a step forward and said arrogantly, that's right. All the creatures in the lower worlds, including mortals, cultivators, civilians and emperors, must listen to the orders of the upper worlds and the ruins of deity. We have the power to kill and take. If we want you to die, you have to kill yourself to atone for your sins. If we want to kill you, you should wash your necks and wait for us to chop them off. Why? Jiang Tian's eyes were as cold as ice and his killing intent became stronger. Why? Kang Taichu, you are the strongest person in the solar system. Don't tell me you don't understand this logic. Although the other divine general was covered in blood and had fled like a wild dog after being beaten by Jiang Tian, he was still extremely arrogant at the moment. It's very simple. In the cultivation world, the strong are respected, and the weak are ants. This is the truth of justice. You are too weak, so you should be bullied, enslaved, and killed. Ha ha ha, do you know what happened to the people who spoke to me like that? It was a dimensional world in the solar system, West Earth. The Buddhist sect has led an army of 100,000 from the various countries to wipe out Mo. Jiang Tian threw his head back and let out a long laugh. Then, his expression turned cold as he said in a deep voice, with a sharp weapon in your heart, your killing intent will be aroused. With my ability, who can stop me if I kill unhindered? But all these years, I've been reminding myself to maintain a peaceful heart and a heart that sympathizes with the mortal world. If I want to become a soul formation cultivator, I have to become a mortal first. You always think you're very strong, but you don't know that in my eyes, you and the Ruins Emperor are ants that I can crush with a raise of my hand. You're very weak. But weakness is never an obstacle to survival. Arrogance is. Now, you'll pay the price for your arrogance. I don't want to kill anyone, but you have a death wish. Well, it's been a long time since I've killed so happily. Then, die. As Jiang Tian's final words left his mouth, he swung his sword across the sky and slashed out. The 10-foot bright disk behind him spun rapidly. Endless true essence and the power of Dharma laws were injected into Heaven Annihilating Sword, turning into a giant sword aura that was 1,000 feet long. Once the sword aura was shot out, a long tail of light immediately appeared in the sky, creating countless space cracks. It flashed across 100 miles, passing over 100 Golden Crow Guard battleships like a dream. Before the cultivators could react, a loud noise was heard. More than a dozen spaceships were slashed in half without any resistance, as if wax had been cut by a hot knife. The terrifying Heaven-Annihilating Sword aura was like mercury flowing on the ground and the heavenly river hanging upside down, filling the entire sky. Colorful fireballs exploded almost immediately after the ship cracked open, crushing thousands of Golden Crow cultivators on the ship, including many nascent soul heavenly lords and 2 divine generals. Arg! At that moment, everyone screamed as if they had seen a devil. Their hearts were cold. The sword aura rolled in the sky and the chilling sword chi covered 1,000 miles. There were claps of thunder, but snow was falling and the ground was frozen. The sun and the moon were upside down and the world was in chaos. Countless cultivators from the upper world were dumbfounded. The power of that slash was too explosive. It destroyed 100 miles of space and slashed 100 spaceships. Its power had completely surpassed that of a Tao artifact and reached an unprecedented level. Jiang Tian only needed a few slashes to destroy all the starships of the Gold Crow Guards, the White Python Guards, and the Dark Crow Guards, leaving no survivors. Everyone realized that Jiang Tian's power had greatly increased after taking out that sword. He was almost as powerful as a soul formation cultivator. That slash was too powerful. It was as if Pan Gu had swung a giant axe and the gods of creation had split the chaos. It seemed to be able to split the stars and the moon. What kind of sword is that? Why is it so powerful? Is it a Tao artifact? No, it's even more powerful than a Tao artifact. Jing Shimin, Shi Zhenxiang, and the other sect masters of the heavenly sects were terrified. They had never seen such a powerful Dharma artifact. They hadn't even seen one in the ruins of deity, not to mention Hai Lan. Jiang Tian didn't waste any time. He turned into a ray of light and rushed towards Xinchang. He went straight through the army and slashed with the heaven-annihilating sword again and again. Boom! Almost in a blink, 3 more armies were destroyed by the heaven-annihilating sword. At the same time, the 10-foot wheel behind Jiang Tian was spinning extremely fast. In the end, the 9 golden cores almost merged into one and turned into a chaotic golden core. That was a secret art called the 9 Changes Reincarnation Nirvana Wheel. Only those who had 9 different Dharma laws and 9 different golden cores could perform it. The 9 Dharma laws cycled endlessly, forming endless killing intent and destruction. It could temporarily unleash the power of a soul formation cultivator, shake the sun and the moon, and make the world tremble. Then, as the sword was swung down, the space within a radius of hundreds of miles was shaken. Thunders rumbled, ice and snow fluttered, and the sword light surged like waves. Ships exploded in the air like clay toys being smashed down by a 10,000-ton hammer, turning into fireworks and collapsing into a picture. The wheel spun like a wheel of light. The chariot of the sun god flashed across the sky like a cutting machine, cutting the ships into pieces. It was indestructible and unstoppable. Countless cultivators from the upper worlds didn't even have time to scream. Golden core cultivators and nascent soul cultivators all died in an instant. Some were turned into charcoal by the thunderbolts, some were torn apart by the dimensional cracks, some were minced into a rain of flesh by the blade aura, and some were smashed into meat pies by the huge pressure. Behind Jiang Tian was a sky full of broken limbs and the wreckage of a huge battleship. 100,000 golden core cultivators and hundreds of spaceships had actually been killed by him. It was as if he was plowing through a yard and sweeping through a cave, forcefully breaking open a path. In fact, Jiang Tian's goal was to kill Xinchang. Killing them was just a matter of convenience. But the 3 guards were killed and their blood flowed like rivers. Corpses were everywhere and blood was scattered all over the sky. He can fight 3,000 miles and fight against 1,000,000 soldiers with one slash. This is his real limit. It's terrifying. Wu Shujian's heart trembled. This time, his thoughts about whether he could get Jiang Tian's heaven-annihilating sword were shaken for the first time. Jiang Tian was already extremely terrifying without the heaven-annihilating sword. No one could stop him when he used it. Chapter 1474. Fall back. Fall back. Fall back. That's terrifying. He's like an Azura god of war. He's unstoppable. Everyone was terrified. Even the sect masters of the heavenly sects were pale. The ships retreated one after another, leaving the battlefield to Xinchang and Jiang Tian. I'm afraid that not even the princes of the ruins Emperor's Palace and the Grand Chancellor of the 100 Moon Academy are comparable to Kang Te-Chu. Fairy Yao Yu's face turned pale. She was so scared that her legs went soft. She couldn't even stand straight. Legend has it that there are more powerful worlds outside of the South Gate Galaxy. There are elites who can level a large world by themselves. I didn't believe it at first, but after seeing how terrifying Kang Tae-chu is, I have no choice but to believe it. Ghost Wolf's hands trembled. Even in the ruins of immortality, divine generals like them could be counted on one hand. They could suppress a level 2 world, but they couldn't even withstand one slash from Jiang Tian. We can only count on Captain Xinchang now. Ghost Wolf had completely lost the confidence to compete with Jiang Tian. He knew he was too weak. Kang Tae-chu, that's enough. This is your last struggle. You don't have a chance anymore. All of this happened too quickly. Once the Absolute Heaven Sword was used, Jiang Tian's battle prowess increased by 10-fold or even 100-fold. He pushed through the iron flood of battleships like cutting vegetables. When Xinchang realized what had happened, it was too late. He couldn't help but attack. His body flickered with golden light and was surrounded by flames. He was like a sun in the sky. His right hand grabbed at the void, and a golden longsword surrounded by flames and shining with black light appeared in his hand. The golden crow sword was 10 feet long and emitted the energy of the sun true fire. It was engraved with the laws and runes of the golden crows. It was a supreme grade true artifact. An extremely terrifying energy rose from Xinchang's body and rose to the sky. It quickly surpassed the nascent soul level and reached the soul formation level. Countless people looked up and felt that Xinchang, who was in the void, was like a sun in the sky. It was as if he was a giant that could break through the heavens. You talk too much. You and I only need to fight. The 10-meter-long divine disc behind him spun like a sun in the sky. Jiang Tian played his sword and sang loudly. His battle intent was vigorous, and his aura was unparalleled. He was like a supreme divine general. The battle that would determine the life and death of the cultivators of the upper realm had finally begun. The two of them moved, instantly leaving space and disappearing from everyone's line of sight. Regardless of whether it was Jiang Tian or Xinchang, both had reached the point where they could shatter the void. Jiang Tian's Dharma laws were powerful, especially the Kunpeng speed Dharma laws, which were tailor-made for breaking through space. Xinchang was a half-step soul formation cultivator and had an extremely strong body and mind. He could go against the space storm. To them, tearing apart the vacuum was as easy as eating and drinking. Clang! The Absolute Sky Sword and the Golden Crow Ancient Sword clashed together, creating a terrifying shockwave. Space was instantly torn apart by the two forces. Immediately after, an even more terrifying sound wave swept across the entire ancient demon abyss like a tsunami. All the buildings within a radius of 100 miles were reduced to dust by this attack. Countless cultivators and demonic beasts with weak cultivation bases were directly shattered by this sound. If Wu Shujian and the others hadn't retreated far enough and didn't have life-saving secret treasures, they would have been torn apart by the sound wave immediately. But even so, he still pulled Fairy Yao Yu and fled as fast as he could. Clang! Clang! The void was filled with their afterimages. The Absolute Sky Sword with a cold viciousness clashed with the Golden Crow Ancient Sword surrounded by fire and golden light. Each of their attacks created countless shockwaves in the air. The dimension within a 100-mile radius was shattered, the mountains cracked and the ground sank. After 3 slashes, the area within a 100-mile radius around the two of them had turned into a giant black hole that swallowed everything. The barrier of this world, which was also the spatial barrier, had a hole punched through it. The two of them even went into the dimension turbulence and fought in the space storm. Oh God, this isn't the power of a golden core cultivator and a nascent soul cultivator. I'm afraid only soul formation grand cultivators have such destructive power. Wu Shujian's legs trembled. He was one of the elites on the God of War roll and had dominated an era. He thought even the princes of the ruins Emperor's palace were only slightly more powerful than him. And yet, he was like an ant in front of those two. Both Jiang Tian and Xinchang could kill him with one slash. At this moment, Wu Shujian finally realized how terrifying a true peerless genius was. Clang! When the 4 collisions broke out, Xinchang fell from 100,000 feet in the sky. Divine blood splashed everywhere as he smashed into the ground, creating a crater that was a few miles large. The entire ancient demon abyss shook. The cultivators of the upper worlds were dumbfounded. Xinchang was killed with 1 slash. That's impossible. Ghost Wolf couldn't believe it and yelled. In his eyes, Xinchang was invincible. Even when facing a real soul formation cultivator, Xinchang would be able to resist for a while. Even though Jiang Tian was powerful, he hadn't reached the nascent soul level after all. In terms of power, it was impossible for him to reach the soul formation level. How could he kill Xinchang? Wu Shujian also opened his mouth wide. That was a Real Guard captain and a noble of the Golden Crows. His ancestor was an ancient Golden Crow Grand Cultivator who oversaw the South Gate Galaxy. Such a terrifying talent was defeated by Jiang Tian. How powerful was Jiang Tian? Caw! An earth-shattering sound came out of the crater. A beam of fire shot to the sky like a jet of sun essence, revealing Xinchang's battered body. Blood came out of the corner of his mouth and there were sword marks on the parts of his body that weren't covered by the armor. One of his arms was even broken. The power of Jiang Tian's heaven-severing sword was earth-shattering and was comparable to that of a soul formation cultivator. But Xinchang didn't get angry. He laughed and said, "Aunt, your sword is of a very high level, even surpassing a Dao artifact. You're just a nascent soul cultivator. Even if you have the power of a half-soul formation cultivator, how many times can you use it? How many more times do I need to use it? I can kill you with 1 slash." Jiang Tian raised his sword to his eyebrows. His eyes were as cold as ice. There was not a trace of emotion in them, and they were filled with unparalleled determination and determination. Boom! Jiang Tian's divine will spun and turned into a beam of light, flashing towards Xinchang again. Xinchang shouted. Around his body, rays of divine light shot into the sky like smoke signals, and his aura shook the heavens and the earth. The Golden Crow battle armor was bursting with flames that seemed to burn the heavens. It was overflowing with sunlight and a terrifying aura was brewing. There seemed to be a burning sun inside Xinchang's body, providing it with enormous energy. Both Wu Shujian and Ghost Wolf were far behind in front of such energy. Boom! The sky shook and the sun and the moon shook. The 2 of them clashed once again. Nirvana, break the sky. Jiang Tian slashed with his sword. The shadow of a giant Kunpeng appeared behind him. With a swing of the ultimate sky sword, it turned into a Kunpeng with its wings spread. It flew to the 9 underworlds, split the chaos and rose to heaven, breaking through the clouds. Boom! That slash was extremely magical. It struck out from an unimaginable angle, leaving no trace behind. Xinchang could not withstand it and the Golden Crow ancient sword was split open. The shadow of the Kunpeng swept past his body. Crack! Xinchang's body was split in half by the sharp sword qi. A bloodline appeared on his forehead. The bloodline extended from his head to his abdomen and was split in the middle. Even the Quasi-Dao artifact Golden Crow armor couldn't protect him. No! Xinchang let out an unwilling roar. Then, his nascent soul shattered uncontrollably. It exploded like hundreds of nuclear weapons, illuminating the entire ancient demon abyss. It could be seen from tens of thousands of miles away. The captain of the Golden Crow Guards, one of the 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor's Palace, the most powerful divine general among the 99 divine generals and a noble of the Golden Crow lineage, Xinchang, had finally died. Chapter 1475. Captain Xinchang is dead. Countless cultivators from the upper world screamed as if they had lost their parents. Even more people were dumbfounded and flabbergasted. They were like ducks whose throats had been pinched by an invisible hand. They made meaningless sounds but couldn't say a complete sentence. He killed Xinchang with 1 slash. He's a descendant of the Golden Crows, the top of the 9 guards of the Emperor of the Ruins. Even Shi Zhenxiang and Jing Shimen, the sect masters of the second-level worlds, and Wu Shujian, the elites on the war god roll of the ruins of deity, gasped as if they had seen a demon. They were really scared at this point. Speaking of which, whether they were important members of the heavenly sects or elites, they were essentially residents of the second-level worlds. They were actually the descendants of the wanderers in the deity ground. No matter how strong they were still incomparable to Xinchang, who had a powerful bloodline and controlled the flawless Dharma laws of the South Gate Galaxy. There were still a few hundred battleships and 4,000 cultivators from the upper world left. Jiang Tian was only one person, but no one dared to attack or escape. He won. Qi Jiui was dumbfounded. The battle lasted for a few hours and was full of ups and downs, but he had never thought that Jiang Tian would win in the end. After all, he was a deity from the upper world. In the eyes of his old friend, if he was too powerful, he would be invincible. Senior Tai Chu won. Ao Jiao raised her arms and cheered, crying tears of joy. The Dragon Gate world had been suppressed by the ruins of deity for thousands of years. They were like the lowest slaves, controlled by others. Ever since she could remember, she had been depressed, aggrieved, angry and hateful. Now, the army of the ruins of deity had been severely damaged and she finally felt elated. My lord is invincible. Ta Kong and Ming He looked at each other with deep respect as if they were looking up to a mountain. In the past few days, their cultivation and strength had been constantly improving. However, when compared to Jiang Tian, they felt that the gap between them and him had widened even further. It was as if they would never be able to catch up. Aliens are just SSO. Conquering the Sea of Stars is no longer an empty dream. Bai Zhe was stubborn, but his heart was thumping. He was worried for Jiang Tian. The experts of the ruins of immortality were indeed powerful. Jiang Tian had only won by a narrow margin this time. He had even used his trump card, the Absolute Heaven Sword. He actually won. At this moment, Long Xingnan was even more in disbelief. She didn't expect that Jiang Tian would actually make a comeback. His impression of Jiang Tian was refreshed once again. Pooh! However, at this moment, Jiang Tian spat out a mouthful of blood. Holding the Absolute Heaven Sword in his hand, he staggered and landed on the ruins of the Black Rock City. My lord! Senior! Everyone exclaimed in surprise. No need to come in. Jiang Tian's face was very pale. In the eyes of the crowd, it was as if he had been severely injured. However, he, Ao Jiao, Bai Zhe, and the others were all shocked. The Absolute Heaven Sword was an immortal weapon. It far surpassed Tao and true treasures. Every time he used it, he would consume a lot of energy and he would even be affected to a certain extent. It was like a 100-kilogram hammer that only Hercules could lift. If an ordinary person wanted to use it, he or she would definitely be injured. If Jiang Tian had only used it slightly, it wouldn't have been a big deal. However, he had used it to the extreme and it consumed a lot of energy. At this moment, Jiang Tian's indestructible 10-foot divine disc was dimming. If one looked closely, they would even see a few small cracks. That had never happened before. Jiang Tian's golden core was extremely tough. Even when he had killed dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords on the 18 islands, he hadn't used up so much energy. However, Jiang Tian knew that this was already a lucky situation. He might not be able to use the Absolute Heaven Sword even if he burned 100 normal golden cores. If he burned his nascent soul completely, he might be able to use it. Even a soul formation overlord would have to pay the price of severely damaging his foundation. At this point, Jiang Tian's combat power had dropped rapidly. He was probably as powerful as Ghost Wolf and not much more powerful than Wu Shujian. If you want to take this opportunity to kill me, come on. Kill me. With a crack, Jiang Tian stabbed the Absolute Heaven Sword into the ground of the city wall, then sat down cross-legged. His cold gaze swept across the many ships as he said coldly. Boom. As Jiang Tian executed the Taotia's origin returning law, a huge whirlpool appeared in the sky with Jiang Tian at the center. The essence qi, and spirit qi around him turned into dragons and were sucked into Jiang Tian's body. The golden core and nascent soul were the crystallization of a cultivator's power. Even if their masters died, their power would still be there. A complete golden core could still be activated and was not inferior to a spirit treasure. A complete nascent soul was comparable to a true artifact and had all kinds of magical abilities. Even if the golden core and nascent soul were broken, there would still be a large amount of essence qi, and soul energy left. It was not inferior to a supreme grade elixir. At this point, Jiang Tian was turning waste into treasure. He used the law of Tao Tai and the chaos creation art to absorb and refine it as if he was eating spirit pills and spirit medicines. He could even repair his wounds and improve his cultivation. In almost a second, Jiang Tian's energy quickly stabilized and then started to rise. The light around him gradually became brighter and the light of the 30-foot divine disk became brighter and more stable. It was also recovering quickly. Ghost Wolf saw this and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He wanted to kill Chen Fan. This was undoubtedly the weakest moment for Jiang Tian. If he missed this opportunity and let Jiang Tian recover, he would never be able to defeat Jiang Tian in his life. However, he was cunning and didn't attack if he only had a 50% chance of winning. So, there were many battleships and countless golden core perfected cultivators around the battlefield. Their combined strength was at least twice as strong as his. Kill. Avenge Lord Xinchang. Kill. Avenge the Captain Wu Huan. Kill him while he's weak. Many cultivators of the Golden Crow Guards apparently also saw that Jiang Tian was weak. As the quasi-divine generals yelled, the remaining cultivators of the Golden Crow Guard charged at Jiang Tian like ants with murderous intent. Who should I help? Wu Shujian hesitated in his heart and was in a dilemma. If Jiang Tian was seriously injured and couldn't recover, he might be able to get the heaven-severing sword if he attacked. After all, Jiang Tian had almost all the half-step soul formation and top nascent soul cultivators. However, if Jiang Tian were to suddenly recover and he were to make a move, Jiang Tian would most likely be able to kill him with a single finger. Besides, even if he stayed in the middle and didn't help either side, Jiang Tian might not let him go. Because Jiang Tian was going to kill him. Wu Shujian knew too much. Jiang Tian definitely had to keep his power, divine powers and Dharma laws secret and not let the ruins of deity know. Let's take a gamble. Do you want to die? Wu Shujian stomped his foot and gritted his teeth. Don't hurt the elites of the human race. He shot into the sky and many silver fish-like flying swords stopped a nascent soul heavenly lord. However, he let the other 8 nascent soul heavenly lords and 10,000 cultivators of the Golden Crow Guards go. As he absent-mindedly blocked the cultivator, he glanced at Jiang Tian from the corner of his eyes. He believed that Jiang Tian wouldn't give up just like that. He must have other trump cards. As expected. Clang! A crisp sound of a sword came up in the sky. The heaven-severing sword shot up and turned into a beam of sword aura, splitting a dozen nascent soul heavenly lords in half. Then, the black hole behind Jiang Tian suddenly expanded and became 100 miles large. A terrifying suction force came from it. Countless Golden Crow Guards and White Python cultivators were instantly sucked into the black hole like dumplings and were instantly destroyed by the black hole. Most of them had the power of a Golden Core cultivator. The blood of the White Python, True Essence, Golden Crow, Blood Qi and Soul Energy turned into streams of Essence Qi and were infused into Jiang Tian's body. It's a trap! Ghost Wolf shouted and his eyes turned red. Chapter 1476. Ghost Wolf used to be an assassin, so he was cautious and didn't send the Dark Crow Guards. The other guards and cultivators also realized what was going on. They immediately ran away, wishing that their parents had given them an extra pair of legs. But how powerful was the Tao Tai's essence returning? It was a real Dharma law that had formed a true seal. It was almost as powerful as the shards of the Grand Tao. The black hole expanded again and covered an area of 300 miles. In the end, not only the White Python and the Golden Crow guards, but also the Dark Crow guards were sucked into the hole and turned into vitality force to replenish Jiang Tian's body. In addition to the 100,000 cultivators who had already died, only a few of them were caught. The boundless magic power and blood essence were all turned into Jiang Tian's resources and food. Crack. Feeling that he was about to be devoured, Ghost Wolf, who was flying at high speed, was so scared that he knelt on the ground. He did not dare to resist at all. The last line of defense in his heart had completely collapsed. Senior Tai Chu, please spare my life. I'm sorry. Shi Zhenxiang, Jing Shimin and the other sect masters of the heavenly sects and nascent soul heavenly lords screamed and flew towards the teleportation array. They didn't even attack. They even wanted to beg Jiang Tian for mercy, but Jiang Tian didn't give them a chance to speak. He immediately swallowed them all. This was a shocking scene, and it was extremely tragic. The warships shattered, and the debris fell like rain, like mountains crashing on the ground. Tens of thousands of cultivators were crushed into blood and powder, even smaller than atoms, and turned into surging yuan qi, pouring into Jiang Tian's black vortex. Senior Tai Chu, I'm on your side. Wu Shujian was scared out of his wits. He used himself as bait and fed on the blood essence of 100,000 golden core cultivators, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and 28 half-soul formation cultivators. He wasn't a human being, but a fiend. Their cultivation was based on nature, but what Jiang Tian did was obviously against nature. Wasn't he afraid that he would become a fiend? However, Jiang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life and his mind was as firm as a rock. No demons could hurt him. Who? How enormous was the energy essence of 100,000 golden core cultivators? Jiang Tian's fleshly body recovered at a visible speed. In the blink of an eye, the scars disappeared without a trace. His divine body was shining brightly as if it were made of divine gold. His golden core also quickly rose to the peak and shone 100 miles like the sun in the sky. But, this was not the end. Prince Chiu Ming of the Ruins Emperor's Palace is very courageous and resolute. Today's bitter battle has already given me a wake-up call. Jiang Tian's face was calm and resolute. His eyes were as cold as iron. I have to make the other divine bodies reach perfection and transcend as soon as possible, condense the nomological true seal, and then shatter the core to form the nascent soul. Only then will I be invincible. The 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor's Palace were very powerful, but they were not the most powerful. It was said that there were many soul formation grand cultivators in the ruins of immortality. The Ruins Emperor himself was even more unfathomable. Jiang Tian was having a hard time with the 3 guards of the Golden Crow. If he encountered a soul formation grand cultivator, Jiang Tian would have a slim chance of winning. The sudden attack of the 3 guards of the Golden Crow also proved that the worlds that Jiang Tian had conquered weren't safe, even if the portal was turned off. They had been in the same galaxy for tens of thousands of years and had been infiltrating each other. Both the Ruins of Immortality and Hai Lan might have left some unknown teleportation arrays in those worlds. That meant that Jiang Tian could encounter cultivators from the upper worlds at any time. What was needed to form a divine Dharma law and form a nascent soul with a divine-grade golden core wasn't the usual spirit herbs and spirit pills, nor was it the usual energy and spirit chi. It needed divine materials and deity materials in the world or divine blood to refine into the body. Of course, it wasn't ideal to use the energy of the warriors of the 3 guards of the Golden Crow to increase his level. But then, Jiang Tian had no other choice. Refine. With a pa sound, Jiang Tian tossed out the time formation disc. Tens of thousands of threads hung down, accelerating time by 10 times, 100 times. They began to frantically refine the essence energy, blood energy, and vital energy. The Hai Lan world was extremely vast. It was no longer a dimensional world, but a blue planet dozens of times larger than Earth. The relationship between the High Lan world and the low-level worlds such as Yingzhou, the Dragon Gate and the Baiming Sea was like the relationship between Earth and the Moon. The latter was a planet and the latter was a satellite. There were countless races, humans and sects living in the High Lan world. But the 7 heavenly sects were undoubtedly the most powerful ones. They were the real giants of the High Lan world. If it weren't for the ruins of immortality, no one would be able to compete with them. Normally, nothing could shock those top forces. They had been superior to the rest of the world for thousands of years. But that day, they couldn't sit still anymore. The Tao-seeking sect. It was located on a 10,000-foot mountain. It was a magnificent and beautiful land. The sacred mountain was lofty and ethereal, as if one had walked into a realm of deities. Spiritual spring water flowed from the rocky cliff, medicinal herbs grew alongside the cliff, inhaling and exhaling fragrance and sharpness. Huge auspicious beasts lay in amidst the mountains, and there were also red-crowned cranes and white swans floating in the clouds and mist. There was not only a celestial aura, but also a wondrous scene, magnificent and varied. This place was a famous sacred ground of the High Lan world. Of course, there was a lot of dragon chi around it. There were more than 10,000 streams of purple chi and deity mist, which formed a giant dragon. At this time, in the purple bamboo forest, there was an elegant house by a lake that was as bright as a mirror. It was peaceful and comfortable. The spirit chi here was more than 10 times that of the Dragon Gate Master's worlds. The purple bamboo was like jade and there were some spirit medicines growing in the forest. They weren't very dense and one could see a few of them. They were hundreds of years old and there were even ancient medicines that were more than 1,000 years old. A few elders who stayed behind to watch over the sect were drinking tea and playing chess. They were like famous scholars of the Wei and Jin dynasties. They were very free and at ease, as if they were detached from worldly affairs. Our sect master Jing Shimin and a few other cultivators went to kill Kong Taechu and haven't returned for a long time. I feel so lonely, an elder tapped a chess piece and said in a muffled voice. Yeah, they haven't returned for dozens of days. Could something have happened? A half-step nascent soul elder seemed a bit nervous. What could have happened? In my opinion, Prince Chiu Ming is making a big fuss out of nothing. He's just an ant from the lower worlds. What's there to be afraid of? He even asked the 6 heavenly sects to send their elite troops. The Grand Elder sneered and said with disdain. When our sect master formed the Golden Core back then, he went through 8 thunder tribulations and formed an 8th grade Golden Core. When he entered the nascent soul level, he also went through 8 thunder tribulations the size of an arm. With such a cultivation base, wouldn't killing Jiang Taichu from an abandoned planet be as easy as killing a chicken? Our sect master alone is enough. That's right. I'm a mid-grade nascent soul cultivator and have reached the 7th level, let alone our sect master. Killing him will be a piece of cake. While the elders were chatting, suddenly, a beam of light flew into the Grand Elder's hand. When the first elder saw this, he immediately felt as if he had been electrocuted. His entire body trembled uncontrollably, and he fell head first onto the ground. What happened? The elders were shocked. The great elder crawled to his feet and said in a trembling voice, "What's the matter?" The golden crow, the white python and the dark crow guards, 30 half-step soul formation cultivators, a few hundred nascent soul heavenly lords and 10,000 golden core cultivators were all killed in the ancient demon abyss of the Yingzhou world. The killer is Kong Taechu. Chapter 1477. The news quickly spread out from the Heaven Monarch sects and shocked the entire sea below world. I heard that something big happened in the Yingzhou realm. The Golden Crow Guards, the White Python Guards, and the Dark Crow Guards went to suppress it, but they were defeated. Hundreds of nascent soul stage cultivators and almost 30 half-divine transformation stage cultivators died? It can't be. Nascent soul heavenly lords are the most powerful beings in the world. Not even one of them dies in a few decades. How could 5 of them die in one go? Who did it? Chi Jiui didn't have this ability at all. Could it be that he was an outsider? Is it from the Big Dipper? It's not the Big Dipper, but a cultivator from ancient Earth called Kang Tae-chu. The battle above Black Rock City was too shocking. The sect masters and elders of the 6 heavenly sects of the Halon world had been wiped out. Most importantly, there were also the experts of the 3 guards of the ruins Emperor Palace. How could it not shock the world? This news couldn't be hidden at all. Even though the 2 worlds were separated by millions of miles in the boundless void, there were too many magic treasures and methods that could sense each other. For example, a true treasure-level Fate Soul Tablet could connect with a cultivator's divine soul. Once the Fate Soul Tablet was destroyed, one would know that something had happened. At that moment, countless sects and families turned their attention to the sky. Their instincts told them that the Yingzhou world was only the size of a washbasin. No way. Wasn't ancient Earth rumored to be a wasteland? I heard that the spirit chi there is extremely sparse, and there are no cultivation orthodoxies at all. It has already entered the age of Dharma decline, and everyone there is like an ant. If Kang Tae-chu can kill so many half-step semi-god realm warriors, he must be at least at the semi-god realm. But our Below Sea world hasn't had a single divine transformation realm cultivator for tens of thousands of years. Many people were confused, not daring to believe this. It didn't matter what level Jiang Tian was at. As long as he could kill so many half-step soul formation cultivators, he would be considered a grand cultivator. As for soul formation grand cultivators, there was no such thing as a soul formation grand cultivator in the Hylon world. Even in the ruins of immortality, they were truly great figures. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. They were lofty and could be counted on one's fingers. They could even directly talk to the ruins Emperor's palace. And such a big shot had actually risen from the wasteland planet. It felt like seeing a millionaire walk out of the slums. Many people's hearts were pounding. It was as if a storm was about to come. The wind and rain swayed, and the sound of the wind and the cries of the crane could be heard. The situation is not optimistic. Kang Tae-chu had even destroyed the 3 Golden Crow guards. This had only happened a few times in history. Could it be that the ruins of immortality is going to be transformed this time? Some people with discerning eyes could sense that something big was about to happen. At this moment, not only did the news spread to the Yingzhou world, but even the Dragon Gate world was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Everyone was jubilant as they celebrated this great victory as if it was a new year. Ao Feng, Lin Qin and perfected cultivator Xian Gui were all elated. This dart was personally refined by the Lord of Heaven of absolute beginning for me. That Lei Yongming even flaunted his dragon scale darts everywhere, bragging about how his discerning eyes had seen through the grand primordium heavenly monarch's extraordinariness. Every time, he would be able to drink good wine for free, and people would think highly of him. The world had never been as joyous as it was these days. After all, this was their first direct victory against the ruins of immortality. This incident was recorded in the history books by the historians of the Dragon Gate world. It was known as the Ancient Demon Abyss's Black Rock City Great Victory. Autumn Plum Palace. It was a branch of the ruins Emperor's Palace in the Below Sea world. The palace was majestic and stretched into a magnificent expanse. It was majestic and had the bearing of a royal family. Is the news accurate? Sitting on the dragon throne, he wore a bright yellow robe and a 7-beaded crown. His expression was cold. Beside him, many palace maids were at least at the golden core cultivation level. At this moment, they were so frightened that they knelt on the ground. Their faces were pale and they were trembling. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. The leader of the Raven Guards, Ghost Wolf, used a cosmic message creation Dharma treasure to send the news personally. That Kang Tae-chu is indeed powerful. He killed more than 20 half-step soul formation cultivators in one go as if he was killing chickens. He used a sneak attack to severely injure the leader of the Golden Crow Guards, Shin Chang, and held back many experts before killing them. After Shin Chang recovered from his injuries, he fought Kang Tae-chu again, but he was still killed in a few moves. According to Ghost Wolf, the sword in his hand is very impressive. It has surpassed a Dao treasure. It might be a legendary immortal treasure. The Autumn Plum Palace's Intelligence Department's division head bowed and answered. He's less than 100 years old and already has the strength of a half-step soul formation cultivator. A legendary immortal treasure. Prince Chiu-Ming frowned. Even he was a bit jealous. He was born in the royal family of the Ruins Emperor and cultivated a complete set of laws and arts. He had been taught by the best masters since he was young and had taken countless spirit pills and spirit medicines. In the end, he had only reached the golden core level when he was 90 years old. Now that he was more than 300 years old, he was only a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. However, Kang Tae-chu came from a remote place and was less than 100 years old, but he was already powerful enough to defeat a top nascent soul cultivator and a half-step soul formation cultivator. Immortal treasure. It was a legendary existence. It was said that this dimension couldn't even be created. It was a treasure that fell from the deity realm. However, the existence of the deity realm had never been proven. Not to mention immortal treasures. There were only some vague legends about the deity realm and immortal treasures. For tens of thousands of years, none of the billions of people in the South Gate system had seen them with their own eyes. Your Highness, the 6 heavenly sects of the Hylon world have sent dozens of urgent messages. They said that Kang Tae-chu might fly to the sky and attack the Hylon world. The 6 heavenly sects of the Hylon world might not be able to resist Kang Tae-chu's attack. We need reinforcements from the Ruins Emperor's palace, or the world will be unstable. The division head said. Well, Prince Chiu-Ming got up and walked around slowly. He felt troubled. It was easy for him to deal with normal heavenly lords, but it would be difficult for him to suppress or kill a soul formation cultivator. More importantly, that kid had an immortal artifact Dharma treasure. That was too terrifying. Prepare the portal. I'll return to the ruins of deity immediately and report to Sword God. Prince Chiu-Ming got up and hurried deep into the Autumn Plum Palace. Half a day later. The Ruins Emperor's palace in the continent of the ruins of deity shook. A sharp sword aura pierced through the sky and shot into the clouds. Even the sky shook violently and was almost pierced through. Shin Chang, Ghost Wolf, Wu Huan, you have disappointed me. You can't even kill an ant from a declining planet and lost 100,000 cultivators. Sword God of the Ruins Emperor's palace said coldly. Every word was like a peerless heavenly sword being unsheathed. Pass down my order. Shin Chang and the other 2 will be stripped of all their titles. Their bodies and tablets won't be allowed to enter the Hall of Valiance. Their direct descendants will also be commoners and will never be recruited. At that moment, in the Ruins Emperor's palace, many Grotto Heaven owners, important members of the 9 guards, nobles, and even princes and emperors were silent as they looked at the furious sword god of the Ruins Emperor's palace. They did not even dare breathe too loudly. Your Excellency, Sword God, you're being too harsh. Suddenly, a warm and magnanimous voice sounded. A beam that tore through the world emitted a loud boom as it streaked across the Ruins Emperor's palace like a supersonic fighter jet. The beam suddenly descended, revealing an old man in a loose robe. He had simple features and a head full of horns. Teacher. Teacher has come out of seclusion. Greetings, teacher. Everyone revealed respectful looks when they saw the elder. They kowtowed to the ground. Even Chiu-Ming and the other princes and royalty bowed as a disciple. Even Sword God wore a stern expression. The elder was known as teacher. He was a sage that appeared once in 5,000 years, the founder of the 100 Moon Academy. Back when the ruins of deity was occupied by the Ruins Emperor, he and many predecessors had established the Ruins Emperor's Palace, the 100 Moon Academy, Sky Palace, and many other organizations. There was a saying in the ruins of deity, if the heavens did not give birth to teacher, the ruins of deity would be like a long night. Chapter 1478. Teacher knew the most profound history and greatest secret of the galaxy. He was like an encyclopedia. There were even rumors that he had reached soul formation before the Ruins Emperor. Back in the South Gate one-star world, before they attacked the immortal ground, the Ruins Emperor was only his student. He was even considered the Ruins Emperor's spiritual mentor. How am I harsh and ungrateful? Teacher, please enlighten me. Sword God of Ruins Emperor's palace bowed slightly in a humble manner. However, deep in his eyes, there was a hint of jealousy and indignation. Shen Chang, Joyless, and Ghost Wolf have already done their best. They never cowered in battle. It can be said that they died in battle for the Ruins Emperor's palace. Won't you disappoint the loyal ones by dealing with them in such a manner? Teacher bowed politely with his hands clasped. Teacher, you are speaking up for Chancellor Deadwood, right? Sword God of Ruins Emperor's palace said with a smile. Previously, Chancellor Deadwood had been ordered to be dealt with by Sword God of Ruins Emperor's palace. His lineage was removed from the Academy's sequence and sent back to their hometowns, exiled to the Western Desert world. And at the end of the day, Chancellor Deadwood was a member of the Academy, a disciple of Teacher. Naturally, Teacher had to speak up for him. Chancellor Deadwood is different from Shen Chang and Company. Shen Chang and Company were authorized to take part in the military operation. They sacrificed themselves for the Ruins Emperor and the Ruins of Immortality. Teacher said patiently. But to be honest, the way you dealt with Chancellor Deadwood is not very appropriate. It's normal for cultivators to perish when they encounter experts. What's wrong with that? Besides, Deadwood's death has already caused his family great pain. We should be killing the culprit, Kang Tae-chu. We should not have any internal strife. Furthermore, you have no right to deal with the people of the Academy. All right. Teacher, what you say makes sense, but I have my reasons as well. You say that I can't deal with his descendants, so I'll use my Supreme Sword Dao to tell you that I have the right to do so. Sword God stood alone, aloof and aloof. Even the sect masters of the 6 Grotto Heavens did not dare stand beside him. When he heard that, his expression changed. Finally, he gritted his teeth and released infinite sword chi, approaching Teacher. He actually wanted to challenge the headmaster. Everyone was shocked. Sword God, no. You and Mr. Teacher are trusted subordinates of our Ruins Emperor. If you were to fight and something were to happen to you, wouldn't it only bring pain to those close to you and delight the enemy? Many sect masters, princes, princesses, and nobles were so scared that their faces turned pale. They hurriedly tried to persuade him. Prince Chiu-Ming even knelt down and cried with tears in his eyes, Your Excellency Sword God, this disciple has failed in leading the troops to suppress the bandits. Please calm down. If you're not satisfied, then punish me. Everyone knew that Sword God and Teacher held supreme positions in the Ruins of Immortality. Apart from the Ruins Emperor, no one could subdue them. Even the masters of the 6 Grotto Heavens paled in comparison. Not only did they represent themselves, but each of them also had a few great powers following behind them. Once a battle broke out, it would be a civil war. The people would be plunged into misery and suffering, and the flames of war would burn continuously. You think I'm afraid of you? The headmaster chuckled. His aura suddenly changed, as if he was a peerless hero looking down on the world. Rumble. Dark clouds covered the surrounding 10,000 miles and thunder rumbled in the void. In the boundlessly vast world of the Ruins of Immortality, billions of creatures could clearly sense his peerless majesty, and they all seemed to tremble. His divine might was astounding. A soul formation expert resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth of this land. When a soul formation expert was enraged, the world would immediately sense it. Your Excellency Sword God, please listen to me. At that moment, the river of stars trembled as beams of starlight tore through the clouds, stirring away the gray clouds and lightning. Above the imperial capital, in a heavenly palace that resembled an immortal's palace, a figure traversed 10,000 miles of the void and instantly flew over. Sky Palace's Palace Lord, Sky River Star Lord. Greetings, Star Lord. Everyone bowed in a humble and respectful manner. Many people were shocked. Sky Palace's Palace Lord, White Jade Academy's founder, Teacher, and the #1 expert of the ruins Emperor's Palace, Sword God, had all come personally because of Kang Tae-chu. Such a thing was extremely rare in the history of the ruins of immortality. His Majesty, the ruins Emperor, had already stopped his blood and stopped his lifespan for thousands of years. He would come out of seclusion once every 1,000 years. That day was known as the Day of Seclusion. On the Day of Seclusion, the entire ruins of immortality celebrated. With the beating of gongs and drums, thousands of nobles, royal descendants, and Grotto Heaven's sect masters came to the ruins Emperor's Palace to pay respects. However, Sky River Star Lord, Teacher, and Sword God had important positions, so not all of them were present. Dao brother. Sword God cupped his fists and bowed deeply. His expression softened slightly. We are all working for the ruins Emperor. Why should we cause a ruckus just because of some minor figures who have different opinions on how to deal with them? Wouldn't it be a joke to outsiders? Sky River Star Lord smiled warmly. Behind him was Prince Xiahe. Prince Xiahe was handsome and had an extraordinary bearing. His body shimmered with starlight, and his eyes were as resplendent as the stars. Prince Xiahe walked in front of Prince Qiu Yang, his face filled with admiration. He bowed and said, "Brother, you have racked your brains to suppress the bandits. You have worked hard." "Sigh, I'm ashamed." Prince Qiu Yang felt ashamed as he said, "Don't worry. Once Senior Sky River is here, they won't be able to fight," Prince Xiahe said with a smile. "Don't worry." Indeed. With Sky River Star Lord mediating, Sword God immediately dispersed his billowing sword chi and said respectfully, "I'll listen to you, Dao brother. I won't investigate how to deal with Chancellor Deadwood's descendants. However, Golden Crow and the other 2 guards are my men. I'm very displeased with their actions, so I naturally have to punish them." Seeing the Heavenly River Star Sovereign come out to mediate and easily resolve the crisis, everyone looked at each other in shock. "Do you know? I heard that Lord Sword God comes from a powerful Tao orthodoxy outside the South Gate Galaxy. Back then, he fought with the Sword Son of that orthodoxy for the position of successor. He eventually lost and had no choice but to flee to our South Gate Twin Stars." The Skylight Grotto Heaven's sect master said with a voice transmission. "That can't be. Sword God is the strongest expert in our ruins Emperor's Palace. Apart from His Majesty the ruins Emperor, Teacher, and Heavenly River Star Lord, he is the strongest expert in our ruins Emperor's Palace. Apart from Master and Teacher, even the sect masters of the 6 Grotto Heavens and Patriarch Ling, the leader of the 8 aristocratic families, claim that they are not Sword God's match." The surrounding sect masters and elders clicked their tongues. Master, Sky River Star Lord and Sword God were the few known peerless soul formation cultivators in the deity ruins. Some of the sect masters of the 6 Grotto Heavens and the leaders of the 8 aristocratic families had already reached the soul formation level, but they all thought that they were no match for Sword God of the ruins Emperor's Palace. However, such a powerful Sword God was only a loser in a battle between orthodoxies. How could everyone not be shocked? I heard that from an old friend of mine in the Tianji Grotto Heaven. It said that the ancient orthodoxy is extremely powerful and spans across several galaxies. It's a top force in the entire banking system and there might be more than one soul formation grand cultivator. Sword Sun is even listed on the galaxy roll. He has become a god and is famous across the galaxy. The sect master of the Skylight Grotto Heaven continued to gossip. The galaxy roll. Everyone was silent when they heard this, and their faces were incomparably stern. They had heard that the roll was published by the Beidou planet region. Only those who had reached the soul formation level and swept across the galaxy were qualified to be listed on the roll. Up until then, no one in the history of the South Gate Galaxy had ever been listed. Chapter 1479. Rumor has it that Senior Sword God was defeated in a battle with Sword Sun. He was severely injured and wandered the desolate universe. He was rescued by Milky Way Star-Lord spaceship, which was searching for extraterrestrial civilizations. That was how he came to our galaxy. The Skylight Grotto Heaven sect master said that. Everyone immediately came to a realization. It turned out that Milky Way Star-Lord had saved his life. Then, even if Milky Way Star-Lord's cultivation level was inferior to his, Sword God of the Ruins Emperor's palace would still listen to him out of gratitude for saving his life. At that moment, Milky Way Star-Lord looked at Teacher and said with a bitter smile, "Mr. Teacher, everyone has their own duties and responsibilities. I think we shouldn't interfere with the matters of the Ruins Emperor's palace. I'm just giving you a reminder. If His Excellency Sword God is unwilling to listen, so be it." Teacher cupped his hands. However, Kang Tae-chu is indeed sinister. At that moment, Milky Way Star-Lord revealed a worried look as he said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, one of the three of us should descend to the lower realm and capture him personally. Only then will we not let His Majesty down." The moment he said that, everyone was shocked. A Grotto Heavens sect master stepped forward and bowed with cupped fists. He said sincerely, "The three of you are the guardians of this world. If you were to descend to the lower realm, I'm afraid something might happen. Recently, there have been movements in hell and the human world. The ruins of immortality was not as calm as it appeared on the surface, nor was it a monolithic entity. Undercurrents were surging, and there were many resistance factions that were enemies of the Ruins Emperor's palace. Hell and the human world have appeared again. Sigh, it's true that a wildfire can't burn it out. It grows again when the spring breeze blows." Hearing these two words, everyone felt a headache coming on. Many of the princes shuddered. Hell. The human world. The heavenly courts. They were the three most terrifying assassin dynasties in this world after the era of the Ruins Emperor began. They had an ancient heritage that sent chills down many Grotto Heaven spines and terrified many princes. Legend has it that the heavenly court was related to the heavenly court of the celestial land. It had a long history and held supreme authority. It was high above the masses and had as many powerful cultivators as there were clouds. It was like an ancient god of death that looked down on the common people. With a single thought, it could cause rivers of blood to flow and dictate the fate of others. The human world was like a drop of water in an ocean of people, it was hard to track it down. You couldn't guard against it at all. Nobody knew when they would launch a thunderous attack. They had even killed dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords and princes. Hell. That was a group of fallen gods. They were the most violent and powerful. It was said that many of their members had reached the soul formation stage, but they were cursed by an unknown curse. They were like gods and devils, and they were the most violent and wild. They could easily kill soul formation grand cultivators with the blood-stained swords in their hands. They liked to exterminate. There was once an emperor of the Emperor Palace of the Ruins Emperor, but even his palace had been crushed. Legend has it that in the headquarters of the Hell Divine Court, there were wine cups made from the skulls of soul formation and nascent soul cultivators they had killed. There were nourishing wines made from their organs, beds made from their hair, and paintings made from their skin. They were cold-blooded and horrifying. They were the most mysterious and terrifying. Although the 9 guards of the Ruins Emperor Palace, the 100 Moon Academy, the 6 Grotto Heavens, and the 8 Guardian families had once sent countless powerful cultivators and thousands of troops to kill them, both sides had suffered casualties. However, both sides only suffered casualties, and the 3 assassin dynasties were only slightly weakened. They had existed with the world for a long time, perhaps even longer than the Ruins Emperor. However, they kept a lower profile. No one knew where they were and it was harder to wipe them out. They were like the sword of Damocles that hung above the Ruins Emperor Palace. It made everyone's hair stand on end. Even top powerhouses like the headmaster had a headache. That's right. 10 days ago, in Heaven Spirit County, the Grotto Heavens sect master described a few cases. They were all bloody and shocking cases that had happened recently. They were extremely violent and vicious. It's very likely that hell and the human world have already sensed Kang Tae-chu's actions. They are using us to deal with Kang Tae-chu. While they are busy dealing with one thing and lose sight of the other, they are committing the crime. Finally, the Grotto Heavens sect master made the final decision and pointed out the crux of the matter. A bunch of rascals that only know how to sneak up on others. If I were to encounter them, I would crush them with one hand. Sword God snorted coldly as he emitted a dense killing intent. Let's do it this way. Suddenly, the headmaster said leisurely. Since Sword God hates hell and the human world to the core, kill them with your own hands. This time, the 100 Moon Academy will send troops to the lower realm to take down Kang Tae-chu. Chancellor Kumu died such a tragic death. Kang Tae-chu will have to answer to me. With both internal and external troubles, we should work together. The various Grotto Heavens, Guardian families, and the royal family are to listen to the orders and dispatches of the 100 Moon Academy and the Ruins Emperor Palace. Yes. Once the headmaster spoke, all the sect masters of the Grotto Heavens, Guardian families, and nobles immediately knelt on the ground and nodded in agreement. While the ruins of deity were shaking uneasily, Jiang Tian had been in seclusion for more than 30 days. 10,000 golden cores, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and more than 20 half-step soul formation cultivators were truly extraordinary, allowing Jiang Tian's cultivation to soar. And this time, Jiang Tian. He focused on refining the Kunpeng golden core and the corresponding divine body and dharma laws to reach the nascent soul formation state. His divine body transcended and formed the true seal of dharma laws. Rumble. The true essence in Jiang Tian's body surged like a river, letting out thunderous sounds. When Jiang Tian's Kunpeng golden core formed the nascent soul, it caused an earth-shattering thunder tribulation that was even more terrifying than the nascent soul tribulation. Clang! O God, this thunder tribulation is comparable to the tribulation of a nascent soul heavenly lord. His power is indeed incredible. Seeing the thunderclouds gathering in the sky and the giant thunder dragon striking, Ghost Wolf was so frightened that he fell to the ground and trembled. It would be strange if he wasn't afraid. Jiang Tian's golden core nascent soul formation was a leap from the first level to the 9th level of the golden core level, as if he had crossed the heavenly moat in one step. What he completed was the hard work of other cultivators for 1,000 years. Such a huge improvement was completed in a few days or even a day. How terrifying was that? It was like watching a 3-year-old baby grow into a giant overnight. Of course, it was shocking to the extreme. This is normal. Even though he's only a nascent soul cultivator, he's forming the true seal of the laws of Kunpeng. It would be strange if the thunder tribulation didn't happen. Wu Shujian was also astonished. Yao Yu Fairy and Long Xingnan were also dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost. Rumble. The lightning tribulation descended. Dozens of lightning dragons rushed out, condensing into a huge 7-colored lightning ball. It smashed towards Jiang Tian, containing an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. This was already the 81st thunder tribulation that Jiang Tian had endured that day. The previous thunder tribulations had a few or even dozens of thunder dragons at the same time. Even a real nascent soul heavenly lord wouldn't be able to withstand it. Swallow. Jiang Tian's face was as cold as iron and his eyes were as firm as steel. Like a small mountain, the thunder puppet rushed out, opened its bloody mouth, and swallowed the 7-colored lightning ball like a whale swallowing a cow. Rumble. Thunder exploded in Thunder Meng's body, making his body flicker as if it were about to collapse. But in the end, he was subdued and became a part of Thunder Meng. At the instant the nomological seal was formed, Jiang Tian's aura instantly skyrocketed as it rose steadily. It rapidly surpassed Wu Shujian, Ghost Wolf, and even the sword god of the ruins Emperor's Palace. It reached an unimaginable height. It was as vast as the heavens, as resplendent as the sun, moon, and stars. It was as mighty and extraordinary as a god, as deep and eternal as the universe. Chapter 1480. Ah! The thunder tribulation is finally over. Luckily, I didn't do it for nothing. The true seals of Thunder Meng and Kunpeng were formed and I completed 2 transformations of the divine disc. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and his eyes were as bright as the sky. Kunpeng's golden core nascent soul, divine body and true seals of Dharma laws were all within his expectations. And the nascent soul formation of Thunder Meng's golden core was a complete surprise. Probably because Jiang Tian had been breaking through to the nascent soul and golden core, the thunder tribulations he triggered were 10 times more powerful than those of the nascent soul tribulations. And those thunderbolts weren't wasted after the divine body of Thunder Meng was formed. They were swallowed by him and he evolved from the golden core to the nascent soul. At this time, Jiang Tian stood on the ruins and his body was surrounded by thousands of rays of light. He was like the golden body of a Buddha, as if a real god had come to the mortal world. There were already many divine chains of laws around him, such as aged metal, Tao Tai, fire of red sparrow, thunder, and space of Kunpeng. The entire ancient demon abyss and the Yingzhou world were shaking under his feet. The dimension was broken and the thunderbolts were intertwined. It was extremely terrifying, but he wasn't harmed at all. At this moment, Jiang Tian was like an undying god-king that had descended into the world. He was so invincible, so undying, so powerful. Ghost Wolf, Wu Shujian and Yao Yu Fairy looked up in shock. They felt as if they were looking at a soul formation grand cultivator. Whoosh! Jiang Tian waved his sleeves, and the spatial fragments were swept away. The clouds and lightning scattered, and the sky became clear again, like a clear moon in the sky. Then, the thick earth chains started to suppress him and Jiang Tian used the sky-stealing sun-swapping art. There wasn't a single ripple of Dharma power, just like the boy next door. Congratulations, Master. You've killed a powerful enemy and refined it with 10,000 golden cores. Your Dharma power is as powerful as a river and as heavy as a mountain. You're almost at the soul formation level. Ta Kong, Mingyi, Qi Jiui, Ao Jiao, Bai Zhe, and the black dog all flew over and congratulated him. HM. Get up. Jiang Tian's expression was indifferent. He was quite satisfied with such progress, but he was, after all, an old devil who had cultivated for 10,000 years in his previous life. He did not care about anything and could not reach the point where he was wild with joy. At that moment, Jiang Tian looked sternly at Wu Shujian and said with a faint smile, "Fellow Taoist Shujian, you are an elite disciple of the 100 Moons Academy after all. Are you really willing to side with me and betray the Ruins Emperor? My ancestor was also an important minister under Emperor Zhongli. He was forced to become a servant by them." Wu Shujian bowed to the ground and said passionately, "Disciple is willing to follow Senior Grand Primordium and conquer the world. We will charge into the battlefield, destroy the Ruins Emperor's palace, burn down the 100 Moons Academy, and behead the Ruins Emperor. At that time, who knows, I might even be able to establish my own sect and establish those unparalleled achievements that will be passed down through the ages." Bowing his head to Jiang Tian and begging for mercy was originally just a temporary measure. But for some unknown reason, when he spoke those arrogant words, he suddenly felt very, very good. His blood surged, and his heartbeat sped up as if he'd taken too many ferocious medicinal pills. He was shocked by his own actions. Could it be that I'm a traitor to begin with? That I've always subconsciously yearned to kill the Ruins Emperor? And this Kong Teichu has stirred my rebellious heart? Ha, fellow Taoist, you sure are ambitious. Jiang Tian looked up into the sky and roared with laughter. He held his hands up, transforming them into a Yuan Qi hand that helped him up. What dogs hit Ruins Emperor? Every dog has its day, and the throne has its turn. Today, it's our turn. Who said that the throne of the Ruins of Immortality should belong to the Ruins Emperor alone? In the great Ruins of Immortality, in this beautiful world, it's good for us to be in charge. Jiang Tian then looked at Ghost Wolf and smiled warmly. Brother Ghost Wolf, are you only willing to submit to me because you are afraid of death? Don't worry. This battle is already over. If you leave now, I won't kill you. No. Ghost Wolf said solemnly. I have an irreconcilable feud with the Ruins Emperor's palace. However, a few of my best comrades were captured by them, so I had no choice but to work for them. Indeed, you have a grudge with them. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Senior, I wonder if you have heard of the human world's assassin dynasty. The moment Ghost Wolf said that, everyone's expressions changed. It was as though they had seen a devil. Even Long Xingnan exclaimed, so you, Ghost Wolf, are actually a top assassin in the human world. In fact, the entire Dark Crow lineage and the entire Chaos Cave sect lineage are all branches of the human world's assassin dynasty. Ghost Wolf said solemnly. Long Xingnan was alarmed when she heard that. This was because the Chaos Cave sect was one of the top heavenly sects before it was wiped out. Yet, it was only a branch of the human world. It was evident how powerful the human world was. In the human world, when the ancient Earth began to wander the universe, there were divine craftsmen in charge of creating the multidimensional worlds. The spatial barrier and dimensional hole teleportation array came from them. They were skilled in the Tao of space. After the Ruins Emperor killed many ancient sages and the ancient heavenly courts were destroyed, these divine craftsmen went into hiding. They researched the ways of assassination and sneak attacks, insisting on being enemies with the Ruins Emperor. Ghost Wolf gave another piece of important news that shocked everyone. However, when Jiang Tian asked about the members of the human world and where they were stationed, Ghost Wolf did not elaborate. Back then, he had not even become the Chaos Cave sect master. He was only an elite disciple and did not have the qualifications to speak directly to the human world. Especially when the Chaos Cave sect was wiped out. Many of his fellow Taoists were suppressed and captured. He had pledged allegiance to the Ruins Emperor and lost contact with the human world. He was even listed as a must-kill target by the human world. The information he knew was limited. Yeah. The so-called war is to have more comrades and fewer enemies. The human world, heavenly courts, and infernal courts, 3 assassin dynasties can be roped in and used. Jiang Tian clapped as he laughed with a mocking look in his eyes. At that moment, Long Xingnan interjected, Senior Ghost Wolf, the 6 heavenly sects of Hai Lan have joined the expedition to the lower realm. Why didn't anyone from our dragon clan participate? Ghost Wolf revealed a look of embarrassment before he coughed and sighed. Princess Xingnan, my condolences. As you and Princess Yanan were captured, your father, Long Baxia, came to the Ruins Emperor's palace to plead for mercy. He hoped to peacefully resolve the conflict with Senior Kang Teichu. However, Sword God and Prince Chiu Ming were infuriated. They believed that he had defected to the enemy and ordered the other 6 sects to join forces to wipe out the Dragon Clan. Your father, Long Baxia, and company were all wiped out. Ah! After hearing that, Long Xingnan's body trembled as she spewed out blood. Her eyes were bloodshot as though they were spewing fire. Everyone looked at him sympathetically. This was especially true for Ao Jiao and Qi Liqui, whose eyes were slightly red. Ao Jiao recalled the fate of her true dragon lineage. The Dragon Clan was originally helping the Ruins Emperor's palace suppress the flood dragons and billions of Fae. Now, the fate of the Dragon Clan and Long Xingnan was no different from her Ao families. As for Qi Liqui, she felt a chill run down her spine. Accompanying a ruler was like accompanying a tiger. With the 2 princesses of the Dragon Clan captured, it was completely understandable that Long Baxia wanted to resolve the conflict peacefully. However, he had ended up with the destruction of his clan. The Ruins Emperor's palace was too ruthless. Long Xingnan gritted her teeth as blood seeped out from the corners of her mouth. Her eyes, which were filled with hatred, seemed to penetrate the strict spatial barriers as they shot towards a resplendent star deep in the void. She roared hysterically at the sky. Sword God and Prince Chiu Ming of the Ruins Emperor's palace, you are ruthless. My dragon clan is loyal and diligent. We have guarded the billowing sea world for thousands of years for your Ruins Emperor's palace. Even if we have not contributed, we have worked hard. But to think that you... She kowtowed to Jiang Tian and kept kowtowing. She pleaded with tears of blood. Your Majesty, please bring me to the ruins of immortality and destroy the Ruins Emperor's palace. We will behead the Ruins Emperor. For this goal, I will never waver. I will not hesitate to sacrifice my life for it. Chapter 1481. Ha, from now on, we'll be comrades. Jiang Tian laughed and nodded. Then, he said seriously, my strategy is still to fight. However, my strategy is still to use battle to nurture battle. Before all the golden core cultivators reach the nascent soul stage, I will definitely not take the initiative to attack the ruins of immortality and fight them head-on. Senior, how can I form a nascent soul level? Long Xingnan asked anxiously. In Long Xingnan's opinion, Jiang Tian's breakthrough was too difficult, or rather, the conditions were too harsh. It was too difficult to find 10,000 fresh golden cores, a few hundred nascent soul cultivators and dozens of half-soul formation cultivators like Jiang Tian did this time. It was impossible to replicate. I need top-notch wood type, water type, and ice type space sealing materials. Jiang Tian said in a deep voice. My breakthrough is different from that of normal cultivators. I don't need simple spirit chi. I need to refine deity material into the golden core. Jiang Tian didn't mention the earth-type materials. That was because the chaotic origin stone cauldron was enough. This kind of top-notch divine material was an item of the primordial chaos. It could create a primordial chaos world, and it was inexhaustible. Water-type divine material. I know there's a kind of Xianming cold spring in the North Sea. It's extremely cold and murderous. One drop can kill a foundation establishment cultivator. Long Xingnan's eyes glittered and she said. Xianming cold spring. That's a good thing. Jiang Tian was startled. Xianming cold spring. After all, the sea-suppressing pearl that Jiang Tian had obtained in the Immortal Trap Grand Formation released the dark underworld aura. If the Xianming Cold Spring wasn't a random name, it should be of the same origin as the Dinghai Pearl, but it wasn't as thick as the Dinghai Pearl. However, it had already formed a spirit spring and there should be a lot of it, enough to make Jiang Tian's Dinghai Ice divine body reach the state of transcendence and form Dharma laws. If there was more, it could even evolve into the Xianshui Azure Dragon physique. The Xianming Cold Spring was also a water energy, but it was too cold, which was why it could freeze and interfere with the dimension. However, it could be used to strengthen the Xianshui Azure Dragon physique. How is the Xianming Paradise related to the ruins of immortality? Jiang Tian asked. Jiang Tian would naturally be willing to negotiate with the people with lofty ideals who wanted to rebel against the ruins of immortality. They would give them valuable pills and magic treasures, and even teach them one or two real immortal Taoist techniques in exchange for some spring water to evolve the profound water Azure Dragon's laws. If they were also lackeys of the ruins of immortality, then not only would it not be enough to rob them, they would also have to exterminate their families and destroy their grotto heavens. The Xianming Grotto Heaven is a branch established by the ruins Emperor's Palace to guard the northern sea world. Just like how the Palace of Autumn is in the ocean wave world. Long Xingnan hurriedly said, in fact, Prince Qiu Ming still wanted to build a grotto heaven in the Dragon Gate, Yingzhou, and Penglai realms. However, you acted too quickly, and he still hasn't finished. Those guarding the Xianming Grotto Heaven are all direct descendants of Prince Qiu Ming. They come from the ruins of immortality and are extremely powerful. There should be many nascent soul heavenly lords. Besides, I can crush a nascent soul heavenly lord with my bare hands. Jiang Tian snickered and said with disdain. The viciousness in his eyes immediately made the surrounding temperature drop by dozens of degrees. His Kunpeng speed-up divine body had already transcended and he could easily use the obliteration blade art. That was a blade art that could destroy space and contain supreme laws. Even a half-soul formation cultivator like Xinchang didn't need to use the heavenly sword. He could easily kill him with the Kunpeng's laws. Senior Taichu, there's a pearl tree in a forbidden land in the Penglai realm. Accompanied by Zhang Qingyang, swordsman Ao Tian also walked over and bowed respectfully, reporting, Brother Ao Tian. A few hundred years ago, I was stuck at the golden core level and couldn't make any progress. I risked my life to go to that forbidden land and got a leaf of the pearl tree. After taking it, my life was extended for a few hundred years and my power also increased. Long Xingnan looked at Sword Lord Outyen in shock. Even the High Lan world didn't know about this. That was the benefit of being powerful. Right now, Jiang Tian was clearly more important to Sword Monarch Ao Tian than the Dragon Clan back then. In fact, he was even more terrifying. That was why he told Jiang Tian. The Pearl Tree. Are you sure it's called that? Jiang Tian's eyes glittered. He reached out and grabbed Sword Lord Outyan's shoulder tightly. Even though this tree couldn't be compared to the whirling divine tree and the world tree, it was still a rare divine tree and was one of the top ones in the central galaxy. Definitely. Indeed, that's the name. If you want this tree, I'm willing to show you the way. Senior, please let go. Jiang Tian's strength was so great that even Sword Saint Ao Tian, who had the body of a heavenly lord, could not withstand it. With a cracking sound, Sword Saint Ao Tian's bones were broken, and he grimaced in pain. All right. Let's go to the Baiming realm first, then to the Penglai realm. Jiang Tian was thrilled. The strategy of using battles to support battles was indeed correct. He had never thought that there would be so many deity materials in the lower realms that were worth digging. Basically, after going to those two realms and collecting enough resources, Jiang Tian would have a high chance of completing the 9 transformations of the divine disc, shattering the core and forming the nascent soul, forming the 9-orifice chaotic divine nascent soul. By then, Jiang Tian's power would reach an unimaginable level and he would be able to compete with soul formation cultivators, or even stronger. Master, we're willing to go with you. Everyone was reluctant, wishing to follow Jiang Tian and fight alongside him. They were loyal and wanted to follow Jiang Tian to do something great. Defeating the Ruins Emperor would change the world and make history. His achievements would be remembered for thousands of years. You also need people to take care of your daily life. Master, let us follow you. Qi Liqui and Ao Jiao's relationship with Jiang Tian was no longer as simple as that of a master and servant. They were even more reluctant to leave. Their eyes turned red and they were about to cry. I'm not going to fight head-on at this stage. I'll keep a low profile and be careful, so there's no need to bring too many people with me. We'll attract attention if we bring too many people. Besides, the Dragon Gate and the Yingzhou realm are too weak right now. They need your protection. Jiang Tian smiled and said. This time, I'll only bring Long Xingnan, Ghost Wolf, Wu Shujian and his partner to the Baiming realm, then to the Penglai realm to meet Sword Lord Ao Tian. No one dared to disobey. Jiang Tian looked at Ghost Wolf and said, Ghost Wolf, tell me about all the secret arrays. Ghost Wolf, tell the Blue Parasol Qi family, Qi Jiui, and Princess Li Qi the locations of all the secret teleportation formations in this world. As long as those secret dimensional caves were sealed, they could only rely on interstellar travel to get in, which would be easy to detect. Realm Lord Qi, there are a total of 18 secret dimensional caves in the ruins of Deity and the Hailan realm. Ghost Wolf didn't dare to disobey. Qi Liqui and Qi Jiui remembered. Jiang Tian flicked his sleeves and said. If the enemies of the ruins of Deity come and you can't defeat them, run. Don't try to be brave. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Preserving your strength is the most important thing. After giving these instructions, Jiang Tian, accompanied by Qi Liqui and the others, arrived at a world cave-level teleportation formation. This dimensional cave teleportation formation led directly to the Baiming realm. In fact, Jiang Tian had the power of a top nascent soul cultivator and a half-soul formation cultivator. He could travel through the universe and fly to the Baiming realm with his body and Dharma power. However, it would take too much time. From the universe, one could see a planet very close. In fact, they could be billions of kilometers away from each other or even more. Even for a nascent soul heavenly lord, it would take him 8 years or even dozens of years to travel from one planet to another. With Jiang Tian's speed, it would take him at least half a month to break through the dimension with the Kunpeng Dharma laws. Jiang Tian was worried that something unexpected would happen. Master, the Hailan realm and the ruins of Deity also have dimensional caves in the Baiming realm. I'm worried that there are already many enemies there. Ghost Wolf said worriedly as he stepped on the dimensional cave. Jiang Tian destroyed the Golden Crow 3 guards, killing until heads rolled and blood flowed like a river. Moreover, those who died were all great figures. It could be said to be the most serious provocation the Ruins Emperor Palace had ever received. How could Prince Chiu Ming and the Ruins Emperor Palace not be angry and take revenge? How many people do you think can kill me in the ruins of deity right now? Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he asked leisurely. Chapter 1482. I'm afraid only soul formation grand cultivators can fight with you. Ghost Wolf told the truth. Jiang Tian could kill a half-soul formation cultivator with the heaven-severing sword. Of course, Jiang Tian would have to pay a price in blood. Even so, Jiang Tian was still able to fight with a real soul formation cultivator and at least stay alive. How many soul formation cultivators are there in the ruins of deity? Jiang Tian asked. There are at least 100 soul formation cultivators. There might be more if we count the old monsters who are hiding, Ghost Wolf said with a frown. There's nothing to be afraid of. We can run if we can't beat them. Jiang Tian chuckled and asked Qilakui to open the teleport array. Then, the space vibrated violently. Under everyone's worried and reluctant gazes, Jiang Tian and the others turned into a few beams of light and disappeared into the sky. In the Northern Sea realm, thousands of miles were sealed in ice and snow drifted through the air. Jiang Tian appeared on a hidden teleport array. Immediately, he felt a deep chill. This was a world of ice and snow. There was very little light, and vegetation was scarce. Everywhere was bare, and there was not much life to speak of. It gave people a feeling of desolation, as if there were no birds flying in the mountains, and no traces of humans. The air was cold. Jiang Tian took a deep breath, looked into the distance, and sighed. He sighed and said, "This world is the most destitute. I'm afraid they can only cultivate with spirit stones and there are very few spirit herbs. So, the cultivators here might not be as powerful as those of the Dragon Gate or the Yingzhou state. Because of that, Prince Chiu Ming will take it down quickly and form the most stable rule." Suddenly, Ghost Wolf let out a cry of alarm. "Master, there are already experts coming. Looks like Prince Chiu Ming has set up defenses and guessed that you might come from here." In fact, Jiang Tian had already noticed, so he didn't panic at all. He smiled and said, "I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. What's there to be afraid of?" Qing Aojuan, Luo Changshan, Li Huaishan, Su Changqing and Yu Linzi are overlords of the war god list of the ruins of deity. "Nice to meet you, Kang Te Chu." Swish, swish, swish. Several shocking figures soared across the sky like rainbows piercing through the sun. They were all like supersonic fighter jets, letting out loud rumbling sounds. Then, they suddenly descended, revealing many powerful figures. They were either burning the sky like flames, flickering with silver light, shining with golden light, or surging with black tides. Every single one of them had an imposing aura that soared into the heavens. More than 20 prodigies of the god of war ranking flew across the sky and surrounded Jiang Tian. The top 5 on the god of war list. In addition, almost all the top 20 prodigies on the god of war list have appeared. Yao Yu Fairy's face turned pale as she exclaimed. If Long Xingnan, who was ranked 80th or even lower on the god of war list, saw them in the past, she would probably tremble in fear or turn into a little fangirl. These were the true peerless geniuses. Every one of them had learned something and had their own strengths. In the boundless ruins of immortality, the outstanding figures among the billions of cultivators were like stars in the night sky, so dazzling and eye-catching. Even the sect masters of the heavenly sects like Long Baxia and the realm lords of the second-level worlds had to be polite when they saw them. But now, things were different. No matter how powerful the overlords on the god of war list were, they were only elites selected by the Ruins Emperor Palace, the 9 troops and Sky Palace. They had a chance to reach the soul formation level and become divine generals. But at this moment, they were all nascent soul cultivators. After all, they weren't real divine generals. And Jiang Tian. Above the ancient demon abyss, even the 3 most powerful troops of the 9 troops had been killed. If these people came again, they would be killed. They're just a bunch of nascent soul cultivators. They want to kill Senior Taichu. Wu Shujian smiled and didn't say anything. He was full of confidence in Jiang Tian. Why didn't you bring wine and food when you came to welcome me? Instead, you brought Dharma artifacts and Dharma treasures. I don't think you're sincere enough. You deserve to die, Jiang Tian said with a smile. Senior Taichu, be careful. It might not be that simple. Only Ghost Wolf had a serious expression on his face. The elites led by Qing Aojuan stood in the sky, but they didn't attack immediately. Instead, they stood there quietly, apparently waiting for the arrival of some big shot. Then, a ship made of Dao-marked precious gold appeared out of thin air in the horizon and flew over. A 16 or 17-year-old boy with a golden crown on his head stood on the bow of the ship with his hands behind his back. His face was as clear as jade, and he had delicate features. Behind him stood a servant girl with a slightly dark face, holding a big black umbrella for him. Prince Chunyu. Jiang Tian smiled. The young man stared at Jiang Tian and his eyes brightened. Kang Taichu of the solar system, I just came down from the ruins Emperor Palace and you can already call out my name. You're really powerful. Ah, Brother Chiu Ming underestimated you. That's why he was taken advantage of. Looks like Ghost Wolf and Wu Shujian have submitted to you. Yes, not only that. Numerous silver fish-like tiny flying swords appeared behind Wu Shujian's back. Wu Shujian sneered, took a step forward and said, my parents and brothers are still in the fertile earth realm. They're worried about your revenge. On this day next year, I'll visit your grave. Ghost Wolf didn't say a word, but his eyes were vicious. He pulled out the air-piercing blade that Jiang Tian had refined for him, ready to launch a thunderous attack at any time. You're quite determined to betray me. Prince Chunyu waved his folding fan and said with a smile, it's not your fault. Anyone who meets someone as talented as fellow cultivator Grand Primordium would admire and respect him. Ha, Prince Chunyu, you're not as arrogant as the other people in the ruins of deity. You're able to see the strengths of others. I admire that very much. Jiang Tian smiled and said. But Prince Chunyu didn't come here just to chat with me, right? If you have something to say it quickly and I'll send you to heaven. Ha, Brother Taichu, you sure talk big. You're indeed the strongest person in the solar system. Prince Chunyu smiled and didn't get angry. He said, I'm here to negotiate with you on behalf of my master, Master of the 100 Moon Academy. How do you want to negotiate? Jiang Tian asked. Divide the world and conquer it. Prince Chunyu said indifferently. All the worlds you've obtained before, including the northern sea you're in now and the Penglai world you haven't reached, belong to you. You're the supreme ruler of these worlds. But you have to sign a divine soul contract with the Ruins Emperor Palace and be loyal to the Ruins Emperor Palace forever. What do you think? Not bad, right? If you want to talk, follow me to the 100 Moon Academy in the upper world. Nothing much. Jiang Tian said. What do you want? Prince Chunyu looked surprised and his handsome face darkened. Everyone from the South Gate 1 star, including the Ruins Emperor, will leave the ruins of deity. Jiang Tian smiled and said, I won't punish you. You've bullied the mortal cultivators of the ancient deity land for tens of thousands of years. I'll also forgive you for repaying kindness with enmity and taking over your territory. After hearing that, everyone went silent. After a few flicks of a finger, a burst of laughter broke out. Did I get it wrong? Jiang Tian was confused and asked seriously, didn't the ruins of deity land belong to the ruins of deity land? Could it be that the ruins of immortality wasn't originally called the deity land, and that the deity land didn't originally belong to us? All these years, weren't you the ones who took over the magpie's nest? Weren't you the ones who bullied and enslaved us? You're too arrogant, Cultivator Taichu. Prince Chunyu still didn't get angry. He smiled warmly and gave people the feeling of a spring breeze. Why do people like you always like to be arrogant and look down on the princes of the royal family and the divine princes of the deity race? My background is better than yours. I was born in the imperial family. My knowledge is richer than yours, and my knowledge is broader than yours. I also have a vast amount of cultivation resources. I have soul formation cultivation arts at my fingertips, and I have the most brilliant teacher in the world, Mr. Headmaster. What do you have? Many elites shook their heads. That was indeed the case. Kang Tae-chu came from the barren solar system. Whatever inheritance he had already been cut off. Prince Chunyu, on the other hand, was born in the imperial family. He joined the 100 Moons Academy's primary class when he was just 3 years old. The people who taught him cultivation were all soul formation grand cultivators and divine priests. He learned cultivation methods that resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth. Jiang Taichu was no match for him in this aspect. For example, Prince Chunyu was a golden phoenix born in a golden nest, while Jiang Tian was a Chinese alligator born in a straw shed, a pig. What do I have? Jiang Tian smiled warmly and said, I have a head and 2 hands. I can twist your head off and kick it like a ball. How arrogant! Prince Chunyu burst into laughter and looked up at the sky with his hands behind his back. The sun was misty and he sighed. Do you think you're hardworking enough, or risking your life? That must be the case. Many people in the wilderness think they're better than others. But they don't know that I'm even more hardworking than you and have experienced 10 times or even 100 times crueler things. The most heartless ones are the royal family of the Emperor of the Heartless Empire. 18 generations of the royal family live in the ruins Emperor Palace, and there are many princes and emperors. Those who want to stand out have to go through a lot of bloodshed. Which one of us hasn't been through life and death situations? I was sent to the Een Demon graveyard when I was 12 and fought with the Een Demons. 50 people went in with me and I was the only one who came out alive. What did you go through when you were 12? When I was 12, I was still in middle school. Apart from studying, I fought with a few classmates every day and sometimes played video games. Jiang Tian's face was as black as iron. If I tell you that I've been to the Central Galaxy, the Deity Realm and the Divine Realm, you'll be scared to death. Prince Chunyu burst into laughter again and shook his head. I was born better than you, I learned more than you, I'm more knowledgeable than you, I have more resources than you, and I'm also more hardworking than you. You want to kill me? What a joke. Jiang Tian said seriously, killing you isn't easy. But killing you is really not troublesome for me. In fact, I only need one move to kill you. If you don't believe me, you can ask Ghost Wolf and Wu Shujian. Chapter 1483. Ghost Wolf nodded solemnly and said, Prince Spring Rain, we don't kill envoys in a war. We can spare your life to report to Mr. Teacher and pass on Senior Grand Primordium's message. Wu Shujian was flustered and exasperated. How can we let him go? How can we not kill him? If news of our surrender spreads, my family in the fertile earth world will be in trouble. Prince Spring Rain cast a sidelong glance at the two of them and said in disdain, one of you is an outstanding talent in the 9 Guards of Ruins Emperor's Palace, while the other is a genius on the God of War list. I never expected you to become frogs in a well after descending to the lower bound. He looked at Jiang Tian solemnly and said, Dao friend Grand Primordium, I'm not boasting by telling you so much. It's the truth. It's laughable that you didn't treat the commoners of the lower bound as your savior. It was easy to imagine how short-sighted the ants and lowly races of the lower realms were. Why did you become our savior? Isn't it a great fortune for you to be a servant for us, the high and mighty gods and deities? I was ordered to descend to the lower bound to persuade you to surrender. I didn't bring so many geniuses with me to kill you. According to Mr. Teacher, I wanted you to see that our Ruins Emperor's Palace has so many talents that you can't even kill them all. The next moment, his expression turned cold. However, if you don't repent and refuse to surrender, I don't mind killing you. And the first one I'll kill will be you. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he said, "The first one you'll kill is me? Who else do you want to kill?" Ao Feng of the True Dragon lineage and Qi Jiui of Blue Parasol Palace. Prince Spring Rain placed his hands behind his back and said with arrogance in his eyes, "My third brother, Prince Chiu Ming, even killed the dragon-rearing lineage of Billow World. Dragon-rearing sect once suppressed the dragons, phoenixes, and billions of demons. By right, the true dragon lineage and the phoenix lineage of Blue Parasol Palace, as well as the demons, should know how powerful we are. But it's still not enough. I want to kill. I want the ignorant commoners of Dragon Sect and Yingzhou World to know that the world masters and emperors in their eyes are nothing in the eyes of Ruin's Emperor's Palace. They can be killed easily. Moreover, you have to kneel and die. Kneel and die in front of these commoners of the lower realm. The country bumpkin emperor of a tiny country does not know the grace of the heavens and the immensity of the earth. Naturally, we should destroy all his hopes and make him kneel and accept his death. Only these lowly commoners will know what the heavenly might is. Only then will they know fear. Only then will they bow their heads and submit to the heavenly might. Only then will they accept the status quo. They will not have excessive thoughts. They will not think about liberation or resistance." After Prince Spring Rain finished speaking, Cheng Aojuan, Luo Changshan, Li Huaishan, Su Changqing, and the other elites on the God of War roll nodded and applauded. "Well said. This is the only way to demonstrate the might of the heavens. Your Highness is wise and mighty. To have your Highness personally deal with the trivial matters of Billow World is truly a waste of talent." Prince Chunyu was all smiles. He looked at Jiang Tian and said, "Kang Teichu, do you dare to accept my challenge?" Jiang Tian was about to agree when Ghost Wolf said nervously, "Senior Taichu, there's no need to agree. Prince Spring Rain wouldn't put himself in danger easily. The many talents on the God of War list were only on the surface. There should be 1 or 2 warriors in the Soul Formation realm hiding in the battleship behind him to ensure his safety. Maybe they would secretly attack him. Let's run now and get what we want. There's no need to fight to the death. Do you think you can run away? What about me? I'll fight you head on." Wu Shujian beat his chest and stomped his feet. "What kind of suggestion is that?" Jiang Tian and Ghost Wolf both controlled the laws of space and could escape into the dimension at any time, but he and Yaoyu Fairy didn't have that ability. They would only die when facing the siege of so many elites. That's right. Yan Hua, the 18th senior brother of the Academy, is the 13th disciple of the headmaster of the Academy. He's also a chancellor of the Academy. This time, he's here to assist me and protect my safety." Prince Chunyu said leisurely. "What? Grand Chancellor Yan Hua?" Long Xingnan, Wu Shujian, and Yaoyu Fairy were startled. This was a true divine transformation realm cultivator. His strength had reached an unimaginable level. Even if Jiang Tian were to fight against him, he would not have the confidence to win. "My unparalleled sword art was personally taught by him," Wu Shujian murmured. They had all been taught by Yan Hua before. They had successfully formed the nascent soul and even entered the nascent soul level with Yan Hua's help. "Jiang Taichu, this black-faced servant girl of mine is also at the soul formation stage. Let's have our factions fight. You're not a match for us. We have 2 soul formation cultivators and you only have Ghost Wolf, a half-soul formation cultivator. Trash like Wu Shujian can't withstand a single blow. Why don't we fight to determine the winner? If I win, you'll be obedient and surrender to me. If I lose..." Prince Chunyu paused and snorted. "I won't lose." At that moment, Wu Shujian and Long Xingnan both looked suspicious and frowned. There was a soul formation cultivator hiding in the warship, and not just any soul formation cultivator. It was Yan Hua. His power could be ranked in the top 10 in the Academy. In the entire Ruins of Immortality, he could be ranked in the top 100. Compared to him, Shen Chang and Wu Huan were too far apart. Even if Jiang Tian won against Prince Chunyu, Yan Hua might not let Jiang Tian go. Or it could be said that to Jiang Tian, this was simply a bet that he would lose without a doubt. As long as Prince Chunyu was at a disadvantage, Yan Hua would immediately attack. Prince Chunyu obviously regarded Jiang Tian as his opponent in the trial. Ghost Wolf, don't worry. He's just a prince of the ruins Emperor's palace. I'll kill many more in the future and Prince Chunyu will be the first. I'll be back soon. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Be careful. Test him first. Don't use a killing move right away. Wait until you see through his path of law, then plan slowly. Ghost Wolf warned him worriedly. Prince Chunyu was born in the royal family. From the beginning, he had cultivated the highest level of cultivation method. It was a complete and flawless path of law that was compatible with heaven and earth. Ordinary cultivators had to reach the nascent soul realm to have any hope of touching the edge of the path of law. However, they were blessed by the heavens and had excellent conditions. Even when they were just born, there were deities and heavenly officials present the path of law for them to comprehend and touch. Therefore, not only did their cultivation speed increase by leaps and bounds, the path of law they had mastered was also extremely high-end. There were even more than 1 or 2 types of path of law. Jiang Tian nodded and extended his hand. Please. All right. Prince Chunyu stepped onto the warship and stood proudly in the air. His primordial chi aura suddenly erupted. Endless path of law roared and transformed into a huge iron blood flag above his head. The rolling path of law roared like the howling of the north wind. The iron blood flag fluttered in the wind, bringing with it a strong smell of blood. North wind banner of iron blood. Ghost Wolf was shocked. Is it very powerful? Wu Shujian was uneasy. North wind, iron blood, and path of law. 3 paths of law. What do you think? Ghost Wolf's face was solemn. That north wind isn't a normal cold wind. It's a cold wind driven by the path of law. A wisp of it can dry up the blood of a golden core perfected cultivator. The iron blood flag is as heavy as a mountain. A drop of it can crush the bones of a perfected cultivator. When the flag flutters in the wind, it has the ability to sweep away thousands of soldiers and cover the sky. This is a cultivation method created by the headmaster himself. During the age of Dao damage, it once injured a soul formation heavenly master under Ao Huang. What do you think? Long Xingnan, Wu Shujian and Fairy Yao Yu were stunned. Rumor had it that there were 4 heavenly masters in Ao Huang's era. They were all ancient sages and had unpredictable abilities. They were extremely powerful and were far more powerful than the soul formation cultivators of today. However, this cultivation method could defeat a heavenly master. It was extremely terrifying.